Hey, gang. It's Friday and I'm still sick. Let's bring the other guys out. Maybe they can take over. Oh, well.
You've been under it for a while, Yergs.
I can't help but think this ain't COVID.
It probably is. It's going around right now. I know a lot of people that have had it.
There's that. And also,
is it monkeypox? You got the monkeypox?
Could have. What's the other one going around coming out of Africa now? They're talking about
Mpox. Yeah.
Monkeypox.
No. Is that what it is? Okay, it's monkeypox.
Mpox.
They just stopped calling it monkeypox. They call it Mpox now.
Yeah, because
are they trying to be politically correct or something?
We don't want to hate on monkeys, of course. They already gave us AIDS.
They're trying to not hurt monkeys' feelings now. This seems silly.
Yeah, I mean, they already gave us AIDS. Now they got monkeypox. I mean, these poor creatures, they're our ancestors.
I don't think we should be that nice to monkeys. I feel like monkeys sometimes get this like, oh, it's kind of like bears. I think there's a significant amount of I'm on team bear propaganda that like Disney cutifies all these bears, but really like a bear will rip your face off if you're met with a bear in the woods. Like they're not cute and cuddly. They'll kill you. And chimps are the same thing, man. They are brutal.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to not hurt monkeys' feelings. Okay.
I am. Everything was coming together great. I was ready to sit down, put some notes together. I've had great shows all week, with the exception of the hacking.
You got hacked?
I go to no the cough, the hacking cough.
That hack. Okay, I thought like Trump's campaign. You got hacked by Iran, maybe.
Yeah, no, they don't care about me quite as much. And then I set up Restream for today, and it's totally different. I can't edit the metadata. We've got no metadata in now because I did have that. And then we went live and it went bye-bye. So nobody has any idea what we're talking about today. That's going to be awesome.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
I mean, we really don't have an idea what we're talking about today, but at least I had some things in there. So, it's killing me. What have you guys been up to? Matt, you're early. You didn't think you were going to be here till like noon.
Yeah, I had a cancellation at 11 o'clock, so I decided to pop on and hang out with you guys. You know,
life. It's sweet.
Life isn't busy enough, so I said, you know what? Hang out with these guys, sit in my garage.
Yeah, so what is up with the change in studio location? You've been here for like
he's in a different spot every week, I feel like.
I mean, okay, so here's what it is I had my studio in my house, and I had it all set up. But me and Sarah, we changed rooms. I wanted a bigger room, and I haven't set it up. And okay, the way that it's set up right now doesn't look good on camera. There's like a rack of clothes on one side. It has like my dresser in the back, and it just looks horrible.
Yeah.
And so
an image we want for somebody running for Congress.
Well, you know what? I don't really care about that, to be honest with you. It just looks like you're in my bedroom.
You want it to be aesthetically pleasing. I get it.
Yeah, kind of like what you have there, or whatever. It just doesn't work. So I mean, this isn't the most aesthetically pleasing, but I like this better than. And then also, if I go to the different couches I have in the house, I have a couple of couches. It looks good, but then again, I'm in the middle of the house or middle of some room.
Yeah.
And it just. So I come out to the garage, I hang out, I'm by myself, good weather, fresh air. Here's where I am at.
You have mentioned that in the past. You did say that, but you also totally missed something I said about, your current potential studio location. You said you'd be hanging out in your bedroom, and I'm like, some of us wouldn't be opposed to that, and it both went right over top of both of you. Nothing.
Look, Yergs, we're used to your harassment on this show already. So honestly, it's just
you missed it. Admit it. You missed it.
All right, fine, man. We missed it. We missed it.
Oh.
Alpaca Head, how you doing?
Yeah, I just want to take like one of my folding knives and just like stick it down my throat and cut this thing out, whatever it is it's down there.
Good luck with that. I'm good. We got kids back to school this week, so fun trying to get on a normal schedule, which is impossible feels like, but we're 2 days in. It's pretty smart. Whoever decided, hey, we should start school on Thursdays for kids, give them like 2 days to acclimate and then a weekend. Very smart. Whoever came up with that,
My home school district always did that.
they need a raise. Because if you start on Monday, that should be criminal. It shouldn't be allowed.
It should be criminal starting in the middle of August. It should be after. It's
You did
ridiculous.
after Labor Day.
Well, keep in mind that's the thing too. It's like I think that's a weather thing because up north they do start after Labor Day because they
No,
generally
they don't. No, not anymore.
They don't. Well, I mean,
No.
Really?
my wife's cousins are up in Michigan and they start after Labor Day and they also end in June because they don't have air conditioning in the schools because they're in
What?
Michigan.
Where are they? Are they Yoopers?
They're in southern Michigan, like right on the Indiana border.
I don't know, man. Everybody's back in school already over here.
Yeah, we are here too, but we got air conditioning in Oklahoma because it'll be hot through October. That's just
They're setting up their lockers. I'm getting text messages from people or my whole Facebook pages is Gen X parents, millennial parents saying, "Look at my kid in 5th grade in their locker, and they got their locker and they got on the school bus." That's like the whole feed for the next 2 weeks. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
It is.
Mine starts college next week.
Not ready for
Yours starts college next week?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. You played for the AFL and the
Yeah. I can tell you who is playing the night I was born. Monday, November 1st. It was Monday Night Football. The Green Bay Packers were at the Baltimore Colts.
Wow.
It was now Indianapolis Colts.
Of course.
Man, this makes total sense.
That
makes total sense, Jurgs. 2 of the gayest teams. So no wonder you.
I was born in the what I call the night is darkest just before the dawn. If you've got an early August birthday, there are no sports happening on the first week of August. It is you got baseball, I guess, but it's it's not interesting baseball. We're not quite to where people are like
trade deadlines.
Yeah, it's not.
Were they in the beginning of August then too?
We did the Olympics this year at least, but normally late July, early August is just dead zone. It's like ESPN, the Ocho. We're watching, ping pong and bowling and spelling bees on ESPN. So no major sporting events on the day I was born. I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, I never got that. I saw that on ESPN too before the spelling bee stuff.
I think it's just because they have nothing else to show at that point. There's just nothing going on at that point in early July.
That and poker. I'm still trying to figure out how that's a sport.
I kind of like watching. Actually, it's kind of fun.
I just looked it up that the Cleveland Browns on December 30th. I'm born on the 29th, which is a Saturday. But I mean, sure. The next day, the Browns played the Oakland Raiders in a game that's famously known as Red Right 88 game, where the Browns lost 14-12 due to a late game interception. That sounds like Cleveland.
That sounds about right.
That checks out.
That checks out. Don't even have to fact check it. Pretty sure
that's it.
Cleveland Browns have been like that your whole life.
Yep. I mean, we had a little glimmer of hope there back in the 80s when we had Bernie Kosar and Kevin Mack and Webster Slaughter and all those guys, and then then we just couldn't get past Denver. So that's it.
That color is also not great.
What? Orange and brown?
But the specific shade of orange is I'm not into it.
Yeah, it's like this. Yeah, I mean, you play in an open stadium with snow on the field, and then the snow turns muddy because of the muddy grass, and then you have this orange and brown. It's depressing, but that's Cleveland.
Yeah, it's not quite as bad as Texas Longhorn burnt orange, but it's not great.
You're lucky it's me here, by the way. Any other Clevelander would jump through the screen.
That's fine. I get it.
Fight you, but
color situation. It's fine. No, I'm not. I don't have a team in the NFL, so you can. I'm equal opportunity.
That's all right. I just.
Yeah, but you got the NBA.
I got the NBA for sure. No, we got NBA, and we've got.
Wait, who do you have?
Thunder.
What?
The Oklahoma City Thunder. NBA. Up and coming, man. I'm excited about this next year.
Gotcha. Good luck.
So,
good luck.
Should we talk about politics?
Yeah, we probably should talk about politics. We're just rambling. talk about NFL teams. Nobody's how many of us are really big sports fans here?
I like sports a lot. I
Hockey.
just don't have an NFL team.
Hockey.
Love hockey. Yeah.
Okay, so none of us. Okay, so we all don't follow the same sports. We one of us doesn't have half the sports.
Right.
So,
Actually, hockey and baseball for me. True story. I have not watched an entire NFL football game since I've seen the movie Concussion.
which is a good movie.
I haven't seen the movie.
Yeah. It's a true story. So
Right.
there's that.
That was Will Smith, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was good. That was a good movie.
No, I do
Very,
think
very much.
I do think football is going to have to change, though. I mean, I think you're right about that.
What do you mean has to change?
I actually,
Concussions.
yeah, the concussions and the injuries and stuff. I think they're going to have to. They're gonna have to change it, or like fewer people are gonna go into the sport. I think that it's like
Oh,
they're
stop it! No, that's just silly. Come on, Blake. The
This-
incentive to go into the sport is absolutely astronomical. The amount of money you get paid, people are going to chop off arms to get into the sport. Like it doesn't matter.
Right.
Honestly, here's what they should do. The problem is they were hiding all this stuff. If the concussion movie is
yes.
accurate, it's like they weren't transparent. Like if you make it transparent and everybody knows the risk, the problem was it's like, hey, what are you talking about? All these people are getting concussions and it's messing up the later part of their lives, and you didn't tell anybody about this and you knew it. Yeah, it's like this whole thing. But I think I think that we get really babyish about people doing things and playing sports, and it's
I just think what they should do is like take back some of the padding. I think that some of the padding has given them sort of they're hitting people harder than they need to because of the
And they're not doing it correctly.
And they're not doing it correctly. Yeah, leading with the helmet and stuff like that. I think if you actually reduce the number of padding, because you don't see these kind of injuries in like rugby, for example, which is a rough sport for sure.
I mean,
Thank you. I've been saying the same thing for both football and for hockey. Take the helmets off.
There's an interesting article where it might have been a podcast actually, where two people that are just sports fans. So is Malcolm Gladwell and the guy from he used to be on ESPN and now he's got his own thing. He's got like rewatchables. I totally forgot his name. Anyway, they talk about like, let's like go crazy. What are the no bad ideas ways to fix it? They talk about like weight limits or some sort of things like that to try to prevent 400-pound dudes running at full speed. Which I guess they're doing the kickoffs different, right? This year or something. Is that right? Something.
I didn't hear that yet.
I think they're talking about doing it differently, where they line them up and they don't have as far to run, and it's like a delay. It's like a kick and then a delay on the start of the run. It's like the defensive team or the kicking team's at the 50-yard line or something like that, so they can only run like 30 yards instead of the full. I don't know.
I can't get the whole head of steam going.
Yes, you're not getting, because they've been trying to make kickoffs safer for sure, and I think I've read that they were maybe going to do that. I don't know if that was in college or something, but anyway.
I'm not convinced on the no helmets or get rid of some of the padding, because obviously they kept on adding padding because when you had injuries, it was devastating. And so like, how do we correct this? And then they keep adding it. It's not that the injuries aren't as devastating anymore, but they are, as you have that long-term effect of continuing to just get knocked in the head. I mean, it's just like a boxer,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
there's going to be risk any way you look at it.
That in rugby.
Right. But
No, in rugby, when you get hit in the when you get hit in the head, you lose a couple of teeth and your eye blows up and you're bleeding profusely. That's what happens when you get hit in rugby.
Well, but hockey's another good example too. It's like that the protection is there to protect you from the puck. It's not necessarily there to protect you from a full.
And you guys remember, like, was it earlier this year or last year that guy got hit in the head and died?
The baseball.
From the puck?
Oh well,
no, I remember. No,
I'm sorry. It was a skate. It was the skate that got his jugular.
Yeah, and
that was in England.
He's being charged with manslaughter because they say that his action was not natural. Like, it was clearly he like kicked his leg up, and I don't think he had the intent to kill a guy, obviously, but it was not a hockey play. It wasn't an accident. It was like he was kicking his leg up. So I don't know what the.
What was he kicking his leg up for? You think? Like, do you think he was intentionally trying to hurt him with a skate?
I think he was trying to. Yeah, I mean, I watched because I didn't want to watch it. So I watched an edit. I didn't want to see someone get, but I saw the action, and it was very much like he was either embellishing, which is now a call in NHL. They don't allow you to like sell a hit.
Yeah, If you take a dive, that's a penalty.
They'll throw you in the box for it. And so, but it looked like he was kind of trying to kick him, but I don't think he meant to like obviously get him in the throat with his skate. but it was definitely an unnatural hockey move. And in a game as dangerous as hockey, they have rules. They're like, hey, look, if you don't control your stick, it's a high sticking. It's like you are in control of your stick, just like you've got to be in control of your legs and stuff. But this was egregious enough that apparently, authorities in, I think it was London, said we're going to charge him for a negligent homicide, essentially. Which, like I said, I have not kept up with it since the charges were brought. But it is interesting because
the other guy that died is why the base coaches in baseball now wear batting helmets.
Mm-hmm.
A first base coach took a line drive to the noggin, and he never woke up.
Yeah, it's happened to fans in hockey. I mean, it happened to a 17-year-old back in like 2000, I think it was, and that's why the net goes further around now. The back.
Oh yeah, I took my kid to a Rays game last year. They're in like a fishbowl of netting.
Yeah, you got to pay attention.
You can't go onto the field.
Yeah, you got to pay attention. It can be dangerous. That ball is going very, very fast in baseball. That puck is going very, very fast in hockey, and it's a very hard thing. And if it hits you in the head, you could definitely.
I think what is it the usual hardest slap shot at the All-Star game?
Oh, it's like
All-Star competition.
It's 100 miles an hour.
It is the slap shot's I think like 130. A fastball is about 100.
Yeah, it's real fast. You do not want to get hit by something going that fast, and it's that hard. There's a law of physics there that says you will lose.
Yeah, that's not going to end well. What were you looking on, Matt?
What are we looking at this week? Well, honestly, to be honest,
what were you looking up?
What do we? Oh,
I was actually just on your computer.
I was sending an email to my intern.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but if we're going to talk about politics, which we absolutely should, I would love to discuss with you some local politics here in Cleveland, which I think that's very easy for you guys to. It's a very easy topic, but it's also a very contentious topic as well. And we're talking about the Browns.
My Wednesday show, I'm doing local politics for my hometown of Boyertown.
I think local politics are great. Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. So the Cleveland Browns are trying to build a new stadium. The new stadium is going to be in one of two locations. They've pitched the place where let me give a summary. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Give me. So they pitched the place where the stadium is now. Now, mind you, the stadium now is a $500 million stadium. It was built only 25 years ago. It was built hastily. It needs major renovations because we have foundational issues and yada yada. Obviously, the billionaires want their new toy to impress their billionaire friends, but they're looking at $1 billion renovation for the new stadium. Also, they're looking at a lake. It's right on the lake, by the way. It's so underutilized property that it's crazy, but it's in Cleveland. And the Cleveland Browns have always been in Cleveland. The other proposition is to move it around 15 miles south to a city called Brook Park. Brook Park is right next to the airport. The new location is right next to the Cleveland Hopkins Airport, and they're proposing a domed stadium and a entertainment complex, but it's going to cost somewhere around, let's just call it $2.5 billion. So a bit more. Long story short is the city has already made a proposal to the current owners of the Cleveland Browns, the Haslams, that will give you $460 million to renovate the current Cleveland Browns stadium. The owners want $600 million from the city in taxpayer money, opposed to moving down to Brook Park, where they're asking the state to help, burden some of that cost. What is your thoughts about both situations and cities and putting up taxpayer money for sports complexes?
Man, this is one of those I really do see both sides of the argument. This is one of those. We just did a similar thing in Oklahoma City. We're building a new arena, and there's a lot of factors that go into it. The first that I think matters is how it's paid for by the government. So in Oklahoma City, we've done a thing for the last over 30 years now where we have this penny tax, essentially. And the first thing it did was build like a baseball stadium and the river stuff and kind of revitalize downtown. Downtown, when the bombing happened in 95, was basically a place where people went to work and nothing else. There was no dinner places. There was like one restaurant downtown. No one went downtown. And we lost a big bid for, I think it was trying to get Boeing or someone like that and we lost it to Indianapolis. And so it kind of really made the city leaders go, we are losing stuff because we don't have the vibe of a city that these people want to bring their businesses to. And so they proposed, look, we're going to do this thing. It's a penny tax. So it just adds 1 penny to sale tax, and we're going to pay for everything like that. So it's not, there's no debt. It's like, we're going to get all the money. We're going to have a citizen advisory board. We're going to have all these committees, and they have stayed on budget for every one of those things. We've renewed it now like 4 times. So the first one was some downtown stuff. The second one was to rebuild all the city schools that desperately needed to be rebuilt. They had leaky roofs and all this kind of stuff. So the second one was for schools. The third one was for more stuff downtown and like some sidewalks and rec centers and things like that. The point is, they've always been on budget. So generally, our city has said, yeah, we'll keep giving it to you because you keep doing responsible things with that penny. And so to me, it's a great example of people willing to buy into some. And so the most recent one was for an arena. It was for a new arena because our arena similar was built, I think, in 2001, and the Thunder wanted a new one. It is one of the older ones in the NBA and doesn't have some of the amenities that the NBA people have. I am more pro it. I'm generally pro it more when it's an arena in a downtown area because it gets used for multiple things. It's not just a sports team. So it's not just the Thunder. It's going to be concerts. It's going to be all the other kind of stuff that comes along with arena stuff, monster truck shows, whatever, all that kind of stuff. And that stuff does add some to the local economy. Now, there's a misnomer that some people say. It's like, oh, look at all the jobs it creates and all the money it brings downtown. And it's not exactly like that, because if you go eat downtown to go to a Thunder game, you didn't go eat somewhere else. So it's not exactly like money that was just there that wasn't there before. You are moving stuff around. But in general, I am okay with if it's like taken to a vote. So like we had to, as citizens, go vote and approve it or disapprove it. I like that in that situation because we get to go, we're the taxpayers, we're the people who are going to pay this penny tax, and we get a say in it. And we're okay with saying, yes, take my penny on every dollar I spend in the city and put it towards building a new arena that we all get a benefit from using. I think that's the right way to do it. I'm less the football stadium's a little trickier because it can really only be used for like 6 weeks a year or what? I guess there's 16 games now, 8 weeks a year, really. So I'm less likely to say that that's a good use of taxpayer money, but I'm not, again, if the people of Cleveland decide that they want to do that, I'm also for like localities being localities and doing what they want to do. And like, I think government works best when it's closest to people because they're accountable to those people. People in Washington aren't very accountable to me because it's a lot harder for me to get a hold of some bureaucrat in Washington than it is to like go to my city councilman's office right now that's 4 minutes away from where I live. So I tend to like it more local. And I'm like, take it to a vote, something like that. Don't just like arbitrarily the city council decides that or something. You're just thinking about it.
Yeah. Sorry. I was doing the sound check stuff on all the news stations around now. Here's my thoughts on that. Having grown up in Philadelphia, the sports complex, as it was known, Veterans Stadium, and the Philadelphia Spectrum, both of which are now parking lots for the other facilities that are there. Sorry. Oh. It was right by the highways. It was, as you said, your one location, Matt, is down by the airport. And even with the highways, it was always a pain in the ass to get to. And same thing in DC. When the Capitals played at the that's Devils, the Cap Center in Landover, Maryland. They weren't in DC. They were about 20 miles outside of town. The Redskins then, their whatever name they're using this week, played at RFK Stadium, which was, outskirts of DC. Much easier to get to. It had public transportation that had multiple lines going to it. Now they've flip-flopped. The Caps are downtown, and I could get to a Caps game in minutes from my house in Northwest. Same thing with the Nats. They're relatively downtown, but they're in a really nice area in the southern part of the district that's called the Waterfront District and the Navy Yard District. It's on the Potomac and the Anacostia, where they come together to form the big part of the Potomac River. And they're just so much nicer areas because they developed it to fit in with the condos that are across the street and shopping and restaurants. It's a fun place. I know people that go to these games to go to the games that never go into the game.
That's true.
Because there's enough to do in that surrounding, like tailgating. And Matt said the first location was on the river. I've been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
On the lake.
On the lake, rather. Yeah, sorry. I've been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I've seen what that looks like. That's just an amazing environment. You put it in like the warehouse district, which is what that other location is sounding like, which is where Philadelphia stadiums are, because the first, I don't know what that's called now. It was originally called the First Union Center. Whatever it is now, the bigger arena for both basketball and hockey. I even think basketball, the Sixers moved somewhere in town, up in Center City. Don't hold me to that. But the Eagles and the Phillies each have their own natural turf stadiums now. Veterans Stadium was one of the cookie cutters from the 70s. Three River Stadium, Houston Astros. It had the Astro turf.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're all natural grass, and they're all built for their sport. In other words, the football stadium's an oval, and the baseball stadium's a diamond.
Mm-hmm.
But they're in a space where you can afford to have both of them. You know, where do the Indians play? Or no,
they play at Progressive Field, right up the street from the Browns.
You know, you guys have good points. Let me ask you a couple more questions about this.
Your mic's muted.
So,
yeah.
No, it's not. It was
Your mic fell down inside your shirt.
Your shirt a little bit, yeah.
Oh, you got it now?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, so let me ask you a couple of questions. Another couple of questions about this statement question. So, remember, these owners of these teams are billionaires. You know, the
Right.
The Haslams are billion dollars, and I'm just wondering. And I think that the frustration with a lot of people, no matter if you're talking about developing in your city and so on and so forth, is this is one of the only businesses that you get this kind of like handout to, you know, that it's like, hey, I want to open a nail salon. No, you're not. Nobody's giving you, you know, a half of your money to open up your business and then subsidize you with free parking in front of your store. You know, and so a lot of people get this frustration that you're handing out $500 million to somebody that is already a multi-billionaire that already uses their extra income to buy other teams or other businesses or their franchises and so on and so forth. So why give them more money? But you also see that these teams, and I think that being Blake with the NBA being new, and also some of these other teams, and I think Philadelphia is a really good example. Is these owners understand that that the leverage of the emotion is more powerful than the common sense of the financials.
Yeah.
And so a city like Cleveland's 360,000 people, metropolitan area in the Cleveland area is around 1.7. If you want to go all the way down to Akron and Canton, we're talking about 2.6. So we're still smaller than, say, the New England Patriots.
Smaller than us.
Like half.
You're smaller than Oklahoma City.
Oh, yeah, we're all smaller than Oklahoma City. And so we have three major sports teams here. We have, you know, the football, baseball, and basketball, you know, professional sports. And they're also talking about maybe a hockey expansion team. We're talking about women's soccer and all these different things. And so when does the city break? And so these billionaires are leveraging the emotion of the city to still extract more and more money from a city that our schools have a deficit. We just came out earlier this year with a $120 million deficit to our education budget for the Cleveland public schools. You see that there's Cleveland's one of those cities, just like you. If you have Pittsburgh or Buffalo or Erie or Detroit, where you have a lot of outflow of population to the suburbs or to different places, where you have huge swaths of property within the city with either houses that need to get demolished and rebuilt or just empty lots, warehouses that aren't being utilized for decades already because whatever business that they had moved out or just became obsolete. And so the investment into a stadium doesn't fix the neighborhoods that are, still economically depressed from a bygone era.
Right.
And so do you think that, so that's the statement. And by the way, the new stadium that they're proposing is in a place called Brook Park. It's a suburb that used to be a major Ford manufacturing place, that not only employs 20% of what they used to, and they used to call this the Working Man's Hall, Beverly Hills, or something like that. It used to be like that place where the average income was I think 2.5 times what it is now. Back when the good union jobs were there. So my question to you is how far does a city go to allow their identity to be defined by sports and at the whims of these billionaires? And last thing I want to say is that I was watching an interview yesterday with the county executive, Cuyahoga County executive, and he called Cleveland a sports town. And what that said to me is back in the 70s and 80s, we used to be known as a steel town. Back in the 50s, we used to be an industrial center, an industrial town. But now we're a sports town. That means our industry is now centered around the casino, the Browns, the Cavs, the Guardians, and these sporting franchises, not anything of substance, of industry. And so I'm just wondering, when do you break as a citizen? When do you break as somebody who thinks that the economics could go a different way? And when do you think that we need to stop subsidizing and start building in something that's more, I guess, long lasting?
I think one tricky thing there is how all the different funding happens, because we heard the same thing. Like I said, we just did this last year, so we kind of went through the whole.
Yeah, hold on a second, Blake. Hold on a second. There's something else there that I think is kind of a bigger issue. You're talking about from the 50s to now, 70 years covering three, maybe four generations. And you're already branded as the third or fourth different type of city? What does the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame have to say about that? Being a sports town.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I don't really know. Yeah, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is interesting. I know Colin because I've never been there.
That's great. I love it. Hey, did you know? Okay, so we went back in the day. Just a little tidbit of information. If you're in a touring band, you get to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for free. So we went because
that's cool.
If you're in a band, if you're in a poor guys in a band, that's the one thing you can do for fun.
That's a weird perk.
It is a weird perk for being poor.
It's cool. I like that.
In your band, but that's what I did in my 20s, and it is great. I mean, they've got some cool stuff there.
Do you have to how do you prove that you're in a band?
I don't know that there's
long hair.
I think it's pretty obvious. You roll up in a van and trailer, and I think you give them a CD or something. I mean, I don't think it's not a rigorous application process. I'm pretty sure they just looked at us and went like, "Yeah, you guys are smelled us probably even." And yeah, you guys are obviously in a band. Yeah, I mean, I just think that there's a problem there because the people that are going against it generally are like, well, we should spend money on X, Y, and Z. There's a problem in every state and every municipality is going to be different for sure. But at least in Oklahoma, general funds for education can't come from the city. It's like just the way we've structured the government is the state controls education. The city does not. So we could do the MAPS thing for the penny tax for the buildings of the school, but not the general education fund. That's just the way that our state works out. I don't know how that works in every state. Obviously, I don't know every state's laws, but funding is complicated in the sense that some of it's federal, some of it's state, some of it's city. And also every city is different on how they get their funds. So like in Oklahoma City, it is only sales tax. For some reason in Oklahoma, we said municipalities have to raise all their money on sales tax. Not every state does that.
You don't have property tax?
We do, but that does not go towards towards the city's general fund. That
Oh,
is
I was about to move to Oklahoma City in a
it's a state,
minute
but
there,
they're all
bro.
like, but like Texas doesn't, so like Austin doesn't have, so there's all these kind of different things. And I am for that. I actually really like the thing I like about federalism, and the thing that we should, I think, do more of is let states figure out how they want to do stuff. And when they're successful, maybe other states will copy them and go, oh, well, that seems like that's working better for them. So some of it in Oklahoma City is that we are very dependent on sales tax, because that is the only way they're going to fund the city government. And so that means you are desperate to get retail and restaurants and stuff into the city. So there is a motivation to get more restaurants inside of downtown Oklahoma City than to be in the suburbs, because Oklahoma City does not get that sales tax specifically if it's in Edmond, which is like our to the north, slightly richer kind of suburb of Oklahoma City. I mean, they touch each other. They even have some utilities in common. But, if you go to a restaurant in Edmond, Oklahoma City's not getting that money. So Oklahoma City and the citizens of it certainly do have a motivation to get people to come downtown and eat instead of go, eat in Edmond and then go to the Thunder game. So you are pitting cities against each other in some ways in Oklahoma that maybe you're not in a place like Cleveland. I don't actually know what the sales tax or how the funding works in Ohio, but I think that stuff does matter. And I think it's important that people understand how that works, because I think the real problem with almost all of this is that voters are generally not well informed of how that works. And we can talk about who's to blame for that. I mean, I think it starts in education, because I don't think we're doing good civics education in general in this country right now, just judging by the lack of knowledge that people have about some really
100%
basic
agree.
stuff on, like, name the three branches of the government. How does a
100%
bill
agree.
get, there's some of that stuff that is not happening. I think as you get down to a local level, it's even more important that you have that kind of information. And like I said, if it goes to the people and the people say we're willing, even though the owners are billionaires and could pay for the new arena themselves, and they certainly reap more of the rewards, we are happy to reap the reward of some tax dollars coming in, and the reward of having a team that we all gather around and enjoy going to the games together too. And so,
Right.
and if that's what people want to do, I'm okay with there not being a monetary reward for that if the people are willing to pay for it. Some people don't like that because they go, well, yeah, but everyone gets saddled with that penny tax. I'm like, okay, well, then those people can show up and vote against it if they want to.
Yeah.
Like, we're opening this to everyone. It's not our fault that a city penny tax vote gets low turnout. That's not. I just, and that's kind of like
Well, well, before yours goes, I really want to just make a comment on what you said there, because we're talking about, here's my thing, and I think that we've spoke about this multiple times, about this, like, federal tax or city tax, or just, let's just talk about the bigger general picture with this. We always have money for certain things, but we never have money for other things, right? And I think that's a lot of frustration with, let's just call it, from the federal government. Anytime you want to send billions of dollars overseas for a war, or more weapons, or raise the the military budget, always got money for that. But you never see, like, the altruistic aspect of our taxpayer money going to say, hey, you know what, Maui had a huge fire. A lot of people in the highest property values in the country, probably in the world, have a real big issue now. What are we going to do to support them? Or education, or whatever. Pick whatever you have there: healthcare, debt, schooling costs, child care costs, whatever you want to put in there. Um, there's always enough money, and we always find ways when it comes to our sports teams. We always find ways when it comes to our military. I'm not talking about protecting our vets and the healthcare for them and all that stuff,
Yeah.
right? But when it comes to buying, equipment and funding the DoD, that's where we have all these money. And so I would say it probably the same thing. And we say, and I think they're saying, like, oh, it- we need more civic education, which is true, about where how we're able to raise funds, and where our taxpayers, where we get the funds, and how we're allowed to use that money is the case. But it doesn't negate the fact that we always see money being raised and billions of dollars being raised for example, we have $1 billion raised here in Cuyahoga County for a new jail. $1 billion. Meanwhile, our public schools have a $120 million deficit. Seems like something wrong with that. So, like, I think that people are just frustrated with the seemingly, we're all going to go all in on raising money for one thing, and it's always the same tick of things, and not the other things. By the way, everybody can call 88888. Yergz, Yergz. Give him a phone
See what
call.
you have to
Hit us
say.
up.
Yeah.
I think you're right, Matt. I think it still boils down to that's what I don't like about populism is that it essentially, well, there's two things there. Populism is maybe not exactly the right thing. There's a problem where politicians are always going to talk about the thing that people think is sexy or is like no everyone says when you say like do you want more money for
You know what's
education?
sexy, Blake?
What?
My triceps. Look at those
Yeah, no,
abs. Look at
those
that.
are working.
You're
Mine
good,
Look at
Blake.
that.
not so much.
Yeah, man. All right.
But you know
Go
what I
ahead,
mean? Like,
sir.
Yeah, I'm starting to look like Blake.
but it's not like we've always had these issues where people go, yes, I'm for that. And they say that out loud. A lot of times people aren't willing to actually put their money where their mouth is when it comes to that. And that really does boil down to I point all of this back at voters because you're right. Voters are demanding sometimes a new sports stadium and they're happy to do that, but they're not demanding that the education department not be running a multi-million-dollar deficit. And so the politicians know that to get votes, they talk about the sports stadium instead of the multi-billion-dollar deficits in education. And that's unfortunate. But I think it all boils down to voters. If the truth is, if every single voter, not every single voter, let's just say, actually, no, let's say it. Let's say that like right now we have like maybe 55, 60% of eligible voters that vote in a presidential election. And let's just use that as the top. I mean, that's the ceiling we have right now, right? Obviously you get down every level below that: Senate, House, local state governor, city council, and that number drops precipitously, right? We've got very, very low turnout in the things that actually affect people's daily lives. Let's say we could get that to 80% across the board, and 80% of people showed up to every kind of voting for school board, voting for the president, like across the board. If all of those people truly cared and paid attention to the issues and actually had and voiced their concerns, that would change politics, right? Because you would have to then, Kate, as you running for Congress, you'd be talking to the 80% of the people who would be saying, we need to fix education or whatever their pet issue was. It'd be education. And everyone's not going to care about everything. That's never going to be the case. But you will have majorities that will say, we got to fix education, or we want to fix licensing reform, or we want to change the way the administrative state works, whatever it is. And Congress people are going to, and people running for office will go that way. The problem is that they're demanding sports stadiums instead.
So I want to talk about something Blake mentioned earlier about the pissing and moaning that goes on with penny taxes. And by the way, how do you guys like my ears?
Those are great. Yes. What is this a furry thing or what is that what they're called?
When I lived in DC, we had something similar. The Anacostia River was a sewer.
Wait, Yergz, are we just going to ignore that he just made a niche porn reference and we're just going to
Yeah, I love that. That's why I love
that he knows this. And
yep.
he's
okay.
Good point.
I've heard of.
We're just going to let this slide.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead, Yergz.
I wish I had a good excuse for why.
What did you do in that band?
I was a guitarist.
That's not what I'm asking.
Oh, what do you mean? Oh,
did you know about furries?
This early 2000s, that level of niche was not around in 2002. For almost
exactly why Matt brings a good question. How do you know about it?
I mean, I feel like didn't we have someone in the news recently, like some politician that was, I feel like this was a thing recently that became a big thing and everyone had to explain it on like.
Yeah, I got nothing.
I have another good question we could talk about the next hour. Sorry, I got to write this down. This is interesting, but go ahead. Yours.
All right. So the penny tax, and then I got to take a break because I got a puppy in the other room crying. We had that in DC and it worked great. If you went to the grocery store and you used a plastic bag, you were charged 6 cents. And that 6 cents went to cleaning up the rivers, which from what I understand are now pristine and great condition. It's not like the Hudson where you're going to die if you go swimming in it. And it worked. What I have a problem with is, as Matt said, multi-billionaires want a new toy and they push it down on us. How does that make any sense?
Yeah, but if they say the threat is that they'll leave your town and go somewhere else, and so it's like your team.
Exactly.
It is a bargaining power thing. Because if the people said, you know what, we love the team, but we're not going to let you bully us into it, I think that most of the time those people wouldn't leave. Now, to be fair, I live in a town that got an NBA franchise because Seattle did exactly that. They should have known better.
Yeah, but I'm down here in Tampa. The Rays don't play in Tampa. They play isolated on a peninsula in St. Pete at Tropicana Field. They've been saying since I've moved here 3 years ago that they're leaving because nobody wants to build them a bigger stadium in an area less isolated. Guess where the new stadium's going? Downtown St. Pete, right across the street from where it is now.
Yeah, so it's definitely tricky when it comes to the professional sports thing, because I do think that if I were a billionaire sports team owner and had the money to blow, I would probably just offer to do it myself because I've got the money to blow. I'm not going to begrudge someone.
And contrary,
necessarily,
the family that owns the Tampa Bay Rays has their arena downtown Tampa, right on the river, and that is not the only place they're dumping boatloads of money. And as such, the Lightning could suck, and they'd still be loved because of what they've done for the city.
Blake, I call BS.
On what?
You would not just pay for it your own self. There's no way.
I'd at least do a 50-50 split or something.
I mean, that's what Cleveland Renovations is proposing, but it's still $500 million to the city. I mean, I think people don't really realize that some of these billionaires have more money than the GDP of cities anymore.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, like Elon Musk is dwarfing Cleveland's GDP.
Oh, for sure.
You know? So it's like, and they have like more than our yearly tax revenue and stuff. And so it's like, this is ridiculous that you're giving you're going 50-50 on $1 billion.
By the way, that they're not paying anything on.
Right.
Everybody was all proud of Elon Musk for paying something like $1.5 million in taxes. The guy makes 10 times that in an hour.
When people complain about people not paying taxes, I want to be totally clear. Do you know who can change that? Congress. They're following the rules. No one's accusing these people of not following the rules.
Well, it goes back to the Trump banger, right? When he was debating Hillary Clinton.
I know. It's like it was the truest thing anyone's ever said in a political debate. And it's so, and like, that's what drives me crazy when people are like, Amazon didn't pay any taxes. I'm like, yeah, we have laws in place in the tax code that say, if you invest in R&D because we want your business to grow, you can write that off on your taxes. It's illegal what Amazon does. If we want to make, and it really drives me crazy when like Elizabeth Warren is complaining about it. You know, you're a senator. You can change the law if you want to. They don't actually want to do that.
It's pretty weak. It's weak stuff. It's weak
sauce. Absolutely weak. It's vilifying someone for following the law. It's ridiculous.
No, I 100% agree. Anyway, long story short, I just don't understand. Like, where are we going with this, Yerks? I forgot.
By the way, we're putting your stadium somewhere.
By the way, councilman resigning after secret furry life revealed. This is a Connecticut councilman is resigning. This is
send me that link, please.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I know there was a politician in the recent past that this happened with.
He's resigning for what? Liking furries?
He was one. This is 2017.
Oh, he was one
a while back. Yeah. And
is this an Oklahoma City councilman?
This is Connecticut. I don't know.
I think you should explain to everybody what furries is. I mean, that's
we're going to lose Atlanta in 8 minutes.
All right.
And so I got to get this out.
Wait, this is the quote of the day. Wait a second. I just have to read this quote. The councilman says it has nothing to do with sex. It's an interest in cartoon animals. I love this.
Okay.
I love this. He's my hero.
Yep. Just give that to JD Vance when he talks about bopping his couch.
Hey, hold on. That's so much bull. That's a lie, and you know it. And don't talk about Trump spreading.
Big fan of Napa leather.
That
Napa leather is the
best. It's a lie.
I walked in, said, "Wow, look at that leather."
It's a lie. That was a tweet by someone that made a joke, and then the Democrats have ran with it. It's as gross of misinformation as anything Trump has ever done.
It's still hilarious, dude.
It's not hilarious, though. It's a lie. I don't like JD Vance. Why are we talking about stupid crap that didn't happen instead of, his actual policy positions or something?
Yeah.
It's
No.
asinine. This race means absolutely nothing now. And it's proof. The vice presidential candidate is going to make a couch joke instead of actually talking about anything real. This whole race is a nightmare. It's absolutely a joke.
Yeah. And we'll be talking about that very issue when we come back. 99.1 WDJY. And we're also now on America One Radio, Progressive Talk in Atlanta. We're looking for a conservative station. Let us know. And everything is part of the Mastiff Media Network. We'll be back after this.
Smell nasty. Do you want to freshen it up a little bit? Go to aromabypeter.com. Check out all of Peter's candles. It's what we burn here in Studio Yerg's. I'm burning right now leather scented candle. That's right, leather scented. So go to aromabypeter.com/Yerg's and check out his candles today.
I'm Jane Stahl, retired English teacher, and with my BFF, Susan Bebeck, we manage Studio B Fine Art Gallery in Boyertown, Pennsylvania. We showcase the art of hundreds of local artists, publish books of the poetry, prose, and art of local writers, offer classes, art parties, workshops, discussion groups, cater dinners. We've even hosted a wedding. And we're here to be the go-to place for friendship, learning, and fun in our community. Virtual tours of our exhibits are available right here on Yerg's Radio. Let us introduce you to some amazing art and artists.
Check out Jane Stahl and everyone at Studio B in Boyertown, Pennsylvania. Please visit our YouTube channel, Talk TV 24. How's your website doing? I'll tell you how mine's doing. It's awesome. Yergs.com is gotta be the best website for anybody in podcasting or any sort of broadcast solo journalist like me. How did I get that? Limit Break Digital. Limit Break Digital did my website with Yergs.com. They did YergerGroup.com. They take care of my marketing, my branding, and help me get the message out to you. Go to limitbreakdigital.com/Yergs for 10% off your next project. That's a $3,000 site, Yergs.com. And you can get 10% off that by just going to limitbreakdigital.com/Yergs today. Talk to Jay. That's my guy. We all got a guy, and Jay's mine. limitbreakdigital.com. Hey gang, it's Yergs. Right now, our country is about to embark on yet another controversial presidential election. I have an actual question, legitimate question, as a political scientist and historian by education. If you are a Trump supporter, I want to hear from you. I want to know what your appeal to Donald Trump is at this time. Please email me news, N-E-W-Z, at yergs.com. News, N-E-W-Z, at YERGZ.com. Thanks. Participants must be willing to provide their contact information, answer a series of questions, and then have their first name broadcast over the radio and social media relevant to Up the Middle.
Wow, that was timed well. I just got the headphones back on and sat back down.
Same here. We're professionals.
Say hello
That's
to
what it's
Shady.
saying. Oh,
This
hello,
is the
little
little-
dog.
Oh, hi there.
This is the little baby that was crying in the other room. I'm going to
All
try
right,
to
welcome
see
to
if
the
she wants
show.
to stay.
Democrat or
I'm gonna try to see
Republican?
if she's she's an independent. Believe me,
Obviously.
there's no telling this one which way to go.
I see.
Yeah.
So she's bi.
Well, we don't know that yet. She's only 7 weeks old. So,
I was
We'll
talking about political leanings, like, bro.
oh, well,
Bro.
Well, she probably
think
doesn't have
she's-
a gain on the politics either yet. You know, she's still testing the water.
Well, she is very fond. She slept with me last night because her dad stayed at his girlfriend's house, and she didn't pee in Pop-Up's bed.
Oh, I'd hope not.
She does she does in her dad's bed.
That'll really ruin the night.
That's gross.
So yeah,
because we haven't talked about presidential. Are we going to talk about presidential stuff? Because I feel like it's been weeks.
That's in the private chat. I put that in there. That in our next hour we should talk about how Trump is blowing this election.
I mean, you're not.
I've been telling you guys. I've been telling you.
No. Hold on, you're exfoliating. No, nothing mattered though until like everything that happened before Biden left. Running like
it's all like it's wiped out. It's deleted. All
predictions are gone. All polls are gone. All everything doesn't matter, including crazy things like him almost being assassinated. Like I think literally nothing matters except whatever the date that Biden that Sunday afternoon that he tweets out. What the weirdest possible way to do that.
Another thing I want to discuss with you is the have you guys been seeing the Paulina Luna is that her name, Paulina Luna, the congresswoman from Florida? Is she your congressperson, Yerks?
No, we got Gus Bilirakis, who is so far Trump's ass.
So anyway, she's been posing in her swimsuit and putting them on there, kind of a little thirsty, but little thirst trappy, and just wanted your opinion about Congress people with those kind of videos.
Oh, but Marjorie Taylor Greene can, pose with, a gun and her tidy jeans and do all of her.
Tight jeans, sir. Come on.
I mean, it's
CrossFit and getting all sweaty doing her CrossFit, and
I'm not saying
this is the
real me. Discussion. I'm not getting all crotchety conservative on you, brother. I'm not over here.
None of it.
I'm not throwing any of the energy at you. I'm just saying there is so much of a double standard with behavior in general in Congress.
Of course there is. Everyone excuses everything on their side and vilifies it on the other. That's how it's. We are now.
Remember, Luna is a Republican, though.
Oh well, I mean, I don't even know who these people are. I've not seen any of these thirsty pictures.
No, he's right. Luna's a Republican.
Well, it's in the chat, by the way. The private chat in this little thing. You can check it out. Click. Right. Make sure your wife's not behind you.
I'm a little nervous about it now, but
no, dude, she's a congresswoman. It's pretty PG-13.
I mean, what Boebert was doing in that Colorado theater wasn't PG-13.
Hello,
that was PG-13. We didn't see a nip. We saw nothing.
We saw some.
Oh, really?
It was suggested.
I tell you that's a nice booty, but really, make America great again.
Well, I mean, what do we expect? The Republican Party has been completely taken over. It is a nice butt. Oh. Give her that. I mean, like
that right there.
But
that's why I'm gay.
But the problem is
that's why you're gay.
Yeah,
this doesn't make any sense.
No guy would put a Speedo on that says "Make America Great Again."
I disagree. I guarantee I could find you a picture of someone with one on.
He hurts.
I promise you, I could find someone that does.
And to honestly, to look at her right now and say that's why you're gay is just baffling to me. What does that even mean?
I am actually.
So is she actually in Congress?
I could stop a chick.
She's in Congress.
Look, none of these people are serious. They're really. I mean, none of the people that do this kind of performative stuff are serious, and they are on both sides of the aisle. And I think I don't love to pay attention to them because it gives them what they want.
Right.
It's the notoriety or 100%. Attention. And I don't think it's working. I think the good news is that you are seeing some of these people lose in districts where they're not as safe. I mean, like, you're right. Marjorie Taylor Greene is unfortunately what her voters want. Like, they've seen this. She's been reelected. So to me, she's no longer the gross person. The voters that vote for her are the gross people. And I know people don't like when I vilify voters, but when you see the kind of behavior that she does, and then you vote for her again, you are endorsing the asininity of that happening in Congress. And so, yeah, I'm going to vilify those voters. I think that they're dumb and they're going to get what they want. it's a different thing when you vote for someone. Like anyone that says you voted for Trump in 2020 and then January 6th happened, like you're to blame for January 6th. That's ridiculous. He didn't have that on his platform, that I'm going to try to steal this election, but now if you vote for him after January 6th happens, I think it's fair to say you're going to get what comes, because you're signing up for it anyway, even though you've been proven that they've shown you who they are. And so I don't get, people really don't like when I'm like, I blame voters for this, but that's who's ultimately in charge. And if they're okay with this girl flaunting in a bathing suit, then okay. But I mean, we're just getting less and less serious all the time.
I think that's where it came down to for me. Have we started our second hour? This is it.
Yeah.
Around our second hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're in it.
So that comes down. That's where it comes down to me. By the way, is I feel that we're just getting less and less serious, and I think it's becoming more toward the idiocracy movie than anything else. And I guess there's a level of professionalism that you kind of expected out of Congress. And look, this is no hate on her, and she looks great, bikini, good, perfect. But you are a congressperson, and it's not that there should be a double standard between men and women or whatever, or the ability to, if you flaunt it, got it, whatever, fine. But I think there is a level of what job do you have, and how you want to portray yourself in this position and the United States of America. And I think that this is just, again, I feel that I sound like a crotchety old school conservative with this, but I do feel like, when you're in Congress, you should portray a sense of like statism or professionalism in the way that your outward appearance to people are. I mean, we all know that's happening behind the scenes, and sure, we have all the rumors of the debauchery that's happening in DC, but rumors are rumors, and then when you see it out there by leaks or vids or even making it part of your campaign, your promotion, you're just like, what is really going up?
The North Carolina guy was talking about, they're real.
Well, to me, here's what you got to look at, because to me, you've got to look at, okay, why? So I'm not so much interested in her doing this, but I'm interested in why does she do this, and why does she feel the need that she has to? And here's my theory on that, and I think this is pretty plainly true. Congress has totally changed the way it works. It's leadership down. If you are not in leadership, you basically don't have any job other than to vote and fundraise. That's it. Those are your only two jobs. So what we've given, and really, you've got no skin in the game for the institution itself, because committees are no longer actually serious for the most part, other than like the national security ones that are private. It's interesting. The only committees that work are the ones that we don't allow cameras in. I think there's something there. So how do these people get notoriety? They have to do more crazy stuff. They've got to pose in these. They got to be Matt Gaetz and be on TV all the time. You've got to be AOC and say outrageous stuff and show up in a tax the rich dress to the Met Gala. These are all things that you have to do now to get attention, to be to become fundraisers. And once you become fundraisers, the real problem with AOC and Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm sure that leadership now, AOC is kind of moderated a little bit. And what I mean by that is not politically, but I mean like she's more serious now than she
politically
was
too, 100%.
And so
she's throwing on me, actually.
But here's her views are still terrible in my opinion, but she's actually like acting like an adult that cares about the institution a little bit more.
Exactly.
But you know how she gets to do that is because she was raising so much money. Leadership couldn't just put her at arm's length anymore. And that's what happened to Marjorie Taylor Greene too. That's what happens with Matt Gaetz. That, and the way to get, and the truth is these people do not care about the institution of Congress. They care about their own fame, notoriety, whatever it is that they're looking for, their own power. They are using the institution of Congress to further their careers, as opposed to being a civil servant that goes to Congress for a period of time to do the will of the people.
No, you're 100% right. If they weren't raising the money or bringing in the money that they could, and I think a lot of people don't know that once you get to Congress, that there are dues to be paid towards your party.
Yeah.
And they have booths and call time booths where you sit there and you raise money for the party, or else you don't have to. But if you don't, trust me, they don't got your back.
Yeah. So I think I think every problem we have in the country right now boils down to Congress not doing their job the way the framers of the Constitution laid out that they would. And because I realize it's not in the Constitution, but obviously the way we built Congress and the way it used to work, where it bubbled up from committees up, that was the way, and we're going to debate it on the floor. That's the way it works better, because it forces compromise. It forces arguments out in open. Here's one side of the opinion. Here's another side of that opinion. Like, let's work this out. That's not how it works anymore. I think all of that. I think even the fact that they've delegated all of their power to the executive branch in the form of either to the president or to saying, oh, the people want this sort of thing, instead of us taking the time to actually think about what those rules should be, we're just going to create an agency and say that that agency should create the rules. I'm reading Neil Gorsuch's new book about how many federal laws there are and rules with these administrations, and how a lot of these administrative, like the FTC and things like that, they are writing the laws, enforcing the laws, and being the judge in the when someone fights it.
Yeah.
That's not the way the Constitution laid this out.
You missed one very important element. They don't have law enforcement power.
They do, though.
Congress, but I mean, legal law enforcement power. The Securities and Exchange Commission is not a law enforcement agency.
But they are, because Congress has given them the ability.
Commission is not a law enforcement agency. When they take you to do those judicial proceedings, it's a civil case.
I know, but they can ruin people. And there's story after story in this book of people that, like, you know, caught fish in Florida, and they board the ship, and they say, oh, well, you've got 60 fish that are over the length, and even though they had the wrong length, and they can't find the statute that they broke, and it ruins people, and they send people to jail. They sent this old guy to jail for like 14 months because of allegedly he caught 3 fish that were too long. I mean, it's insane. And there's no way that you can take it to a real judge in the judicial branch, or that you can take it to Congress, because Congress keeps abdicating their power to the executive branch. And it's not the way the Constitution was built. It's not the way this country is supposed to be. We've got this administrative state, and Congress basically is happy. I just don't think the founders ever thought Congress would give that power away, but they have. If Congress took back and was jealous about that power, they would be a real institution. Right now, they're just not, which is why they have the least. I think they have the lowest approval rate of all 3 branches. I'm pretty lower than presidency, lower than the judicial branch. And
I would suspect the judicial branch is actually catching up to them.
It's not. It's way more popular. All the stuff you see about, like, oh, the Supreme Court. So it's not. You got to remember, the judicial branch is it's not the Supreme Court. There's lots of courts.
Yeah.
There's courts, there's all this stuff. And most people have a general. The press is trying to say that, because like I said, they do this every May and June because they've got to make controversy and stuff. And there's not a lot, I guess, not enough going on in other politics. And I just don't think you see, look, most cases at the Supreme Court even are 8-1 and 9-0. Yeah, we get some 6-3s, we get some 5-4s, but most of them are 9-0, 8-1. And you're seeing all sorts of, even with this court right now, Gorsuch with Sotomayor dissenting, and all these weird factions, Amy Coney Barrett joining. It's not the 6-3 thing that everyone claimed was going to happen when Trump appointed these 3 people. It's just not been the case. Some of it doesn't make sense to me, because sometimes it's like, obviously you got to get down to the details of the law, and it's way more complicated than I am qualified to talk about. But my point is, it's not this thing that people think it is because of the media saying that it is. I just think that we've got to have better trust in our institutions. That starts with those institutions themselves taking themselves seriously, which is why I think leadership in Congress matters. And because it would be better if, it was a bubble up thing and there was more power in Congress for them to go, look, you're not serious. We're going to run someone against you next time, even if you're in our party. That's what should really be happening. And that can't happen anymore because of the base politics we do.
Yeah. I'm still mixed, though. Obviously, I haven't read it because it's not out in audiobook. But Gorsuch's book, do you even think he should be writing something like that now?
It's not very political. It's all about, I'm only about halfway through it. It's just all these stories of specific cases that were not even in now. And when it does, if it did go to the Supreme Court, he cites, and I was in the dissent or something like that. Most of it is about, hey, this is not the way the country was meant to be. And we're over, basically his point is that lots of experts say there's way too many laws. Basically every American adult commits maybe 3 felonies a day based on this. Federal crimes, like federal felonies. because there's so many rules, and it's mostly stories about previous cases where someone like literally gets to the Supreme Court and they go, can you point to the statute that they broke? And they literally figure out that they can't find the statute, that like the administrative, they like made up the rule or were wrong about the rule and spent, tens of millions of dollars of taxpayer money fighting this all the way up to the Supreme Court, and then realize, oh, we actually can't find the rule. We don't know where it is. And we don't even have a place where all these rules are written down. We don't even have a way to say that the FTC, you've got to put these rules in this certain place so that people can read them and know if they're following them.
In the FCC, there's different, what are called parts, and part 1, part 8, but all the different things that are with commercial or broadcast radio. But then there's so many other things that they govern.
Right. And there was a joke back that Obama told, that he was like, it's hard to take control of the federal government because it's like one agency is in charge of salmon if they're in saltwater. There's another one that's in charge of salmon if they're in freshwater. And there's another one if it's smoked. And it was kind of a joke, but like, I think Washington Post or someone did a fact check on there. Like, it's mostly true, but actually because he undersold the problem of how conflicting some of this is. And the point is, it's a big mess. And most people, this book is full of stories of people that didn't know they'd committed a crime, literally did not willingly commit a crime, but ended up having to go to court or go to jail because of some crime they didn't. One was about Bobby Unser, the race car driver. He got lost in a snowstorm on snowmobiles, and the federal government charged him with a federal crime for taking a snowmobile somewhere he couldn't. He was like, we were lost in a storm. They could never even find the snowmobile because they were so lost they had to abandon it and walk off. And he got entrapped by this, federal bureaucracy. I can't remember who it was. It was like the Fish and Wildlife game. And he had to admit guilt to a thing that was a $74 fine, but he's a federal criminal now. Like he's found guilty. It's that kind of stuff. It's like, we've got to, that's a whole different.
That's what I'm holding up.
Yeah.
The remote controls.
Yeah.
This remote control sends a frequency of radio waves to the device that it controls. That's governed by the FCC.
Right. And so there's just all sorts of stuff like that most people don't realize their daily lives, especially if they're in a business. Most of them were results of people that, like, one guy he brought an orchid back without the right paperwork from some other country and got thrown in jail for it and all this stuff. And the other criminals in there were literally laughing because they were like in there for murder and stuff. And they were like, did you smoke the orchid or something? I'm so confused of how. Anyway, so I think so far the book, it's not very political, other than saying this is not the way. Like, we can't do this as a country. We've got too many laws, and if the citizens don't know what the laws are, they can't possibly follow them. And we're basically getting to a point where you could charge anyone for a crime if you wanted to. Show me the man, show you the crime kind of thing, because we've got so many statutes. That's all Congress. Congress is not the monocausal explanation for it, but there's certainly the cause in the sense that they wrote most of these statutes that said,
Congress is the cause, because they don't want to take responsibility and they don't want to take blame and they don't want to do their damn job. So they keep pushing it off to the executive branch or these 3-letter organizations. And it's just the Congress is just weak. They just advocate their power, and then they pose in thirst traps to get money.
Right, but how do you think we solve that, Matt? Like, what's the solution?
I'm not too sure, but I can tell you right now, I'm trimming down to get my abs in order so I can be a thirst trap myself. I need to raise some funds.
You got to do what you got to do, man.
I'll donate.
Okay, wait. Whoa. Conflict of interest, sir.
But I do wonder. That's why. Going back to the point that I made last week, but we didn't.
Be fun too.
We didn't get to expand on is I do think there's a leadership problem, because I do think if you got the right leadership in Congress, they could go, like, leadership right now could say, you know what, we're not going to do this like top down situation. We are going to give it back to committees and let committees do what committees are supposed to do. That could happen like this. That's a rule change in Congress. That's a method. That's not a law that has to get passed. You don't have to have bipartisan support. One person could do that. The Speaker of the House could do that. A president could likewise say, I'm not going to sign anything you guys send me if it's top-down leadership stuff from Congress. I'm only going to sign stuff that I know got brought up because Matt Deemer, the freshman congressman, said, hey, I think we should fix X, Y, and Z. Here's my proposal for it. Let's talk about it in committee. Let's talk about it on the floor. Let's figure out how to make this work. I think Congress can do that. There's obviously just not a will to do that. And I think it requires, you have to have the change at leadership because there's no sea change that's going to make that happen. The last kind of sea change we got was probably the Tea Party in 2010, and nothing changed about the way Congress worked. In fact, I would say it's more broken now. Now, I'm not saying it's because of the Tea Party candidates. They've all just realized that the way they ran about, like, I think they were genuine. I think that movement was genuine in the sense that they wanted smaller government. They wanted government to work correctly. I think eventually most of those people that got elected realized that you were going to get nowhere doing that. And so they did the performative stuff. They turned into Ted Cruz 2.0, and they've realized now, unfortunately, in the Republican Party, the only way to get ahead is to kiss Trump's butt all the time. That's the
Speaking
method.
of kissing Trump's butt, let's talk about Trump.
I got
I'm
something
gonna
for you.
Yeah.
I got
gonna
something
pivot.
for you. Look at this.
What do you got for me, Yergis?
I gotta get the email here. Oh, this is you
This is me.
from Daily Crypto News.
Oh yeah. What I oh
Trump's Ethereum holdings revealed.
oh yeah. So
Talk about that.
I think we should pivot to two things. One, so really quick about Trump's Ethereum holdings is Trump's. So when you run for office, you have to fill out your financial reports and tell everybody what you got, right? And so if you have a mortgage, if you have debt, if you have liabilities, if you have assets, if you have income from those assets, you have to disclose all of that. And it's kind of like this loose disclosure between, for example, you have to say, oh, if I'm holding Apple stock, it's between $100,000 and $250,000. And you kind of guess on the low end or the high end how much somebody's worth. I mean, and if you go higher, it's between $1 and $5 million. Like Kamala Harris disclosed that her mortgage on her house in California is anywhere between $1 and $5 million. We have no clue how much it is. But anyway, Donald Trump did the same thing when it came to his crypto holdings. And he disclosed that he owns anywhere from between $1 and $5 million. But he also has a.
Is that a threshold? Is it between 1 and 5? Is that a threshold somewhere? Like, because they both said between 1 and 5.
Yeah, it's a level. It's like a tax bracket, except for it's a
exactly. It's a bracket of financial disclosure. Over 5 would be like probably 5 to 10 or something. I'm not too sure.
I can tell you what your house is worth.
I don't have over 5 million of anything, so I don't even know.
And they're not trying to get exact numbers because exact numbers change daily in some of this stuff. So they're trying to get a broad range of like, where are you investing in, what is your money in, like where are your conflicts of interest, and that kind of, not that it matters.
Exactly.
I can tell you I've been in her house. I've looked up her house. And I can tell you, it's about, when I did that about 2 years ago, it was about 3.2 million.
I mean, in San Francisco, that's okay. I mean, it's not
LA.
It's a shack. But look, so anyway, he also disclosed that he has a 7.2.
It's about the same size of this house here, with a pool.
No, I thought she had a Victorian.
No, her place in Brentwood in LA is I think it's a 3-bed, 2-bath.
I'll just be honest, I could not care less about Kamala Harris's house.
And huge open floor plan. Like the kitchen goes right into the dining room, which goes right into the living room.
Great.
And then there's just bedrooms on the end of it. That's it.
Sounds like a normal house. Anyway, moving back to Trump, what I was saying is Trump he also has a licensing agreement for NFTs about $7.2 million. But when Arkham did a deep dig on actually what he owns, it looks like in his wallets, his disclosed wallets, the wallets that we could trace on chain, it looks like he's about $1.3 million worth of ETH, around $1 million worth of wrapped ETH, and around $372,000 worth of a meme coin called Trog, which is basically their meme is a frog wearing a MAGA hat. And just let everybody know that $5 million of crypto, which honestly puts you in the top 1% of net worth individuals in the United States, if you had $5 million, that is only 0.067% of his net worth. Just FYI, if anybody wants to see, and here's the thing. And then let's go. Of his net worth, yes.
Okay, but what percentage? What percentage of that is of the entire market, of the entire crypto market?
Oh, put like 4 zeros in front of that. I don't like nothing.
Yeah,
it'd be tiny. Yeah,
I mean, we're talking about a $2 trillion market.
Yeah.
Right.
And
5 million.
Ethereum is probably about $500 billion, or maybe about $1/3 trillion right now. So it's a drop in the bucket. Long story short is he has substantial crypto holdings and he's a very rich person. But with that, wait, what did you say? I just lost my train of thought.
I just saw that he had crypto, and so I was going to share that email, and then I realized it was your email. It was from Daily Crypto News.
And he also made, and also, if you saw my email from Wednesday, he made 7 crypto promises when he becomes elected, which I'm not going to go into. But I would love to pivot the question into is Trump actually losing his mind? Because I feel like he is purposely trying to blow this election with some of the things that he's doing, and I don't know if it's actually smart.
No, I think he's actually. I did a whole episode this week on this. I think he's actually not well. I think he's. You look at, like, for example, his saying that like Biden's going to show up to the convention next week and take back the nomination. That's crazy. There's no like 3D chess move there. That's not a lie to cover his butt about something. Like, that's not a policy position change. That's just lunacy. And it's the same thing with the other thing I pointed out was.
Well, first of all, didn't they already vote technically?
Yes, but that's further point that it's lunacy. It doesn't gain him anything. He just wants so badly to be able to fight Joe Biden because things were going so well for him when that was what was happening. Because I think he thought it was on autopilot, because it was. I think after that debate in June, it was very clear that like Biden was dropping. There was no fixing the problem because he can't come out and talk in a way that's going to reassure people that he's not old. 70% of the country desperately wanted someone other than Donald Trump and Joe Biden to run for the presidency. And they got Kamala, and they're happy for it to be her. They're like, it doesn't matter who it is. And that's driving him, I think, more insane than he already was. I don't think this is lying. I think he believes the lies. I think what happens is he says something because he feels like it must be true. He said Kamala's crowds are AI. That's lunacy. It's because his ego, his brain goes, okay, she can't be pulling crowds bigger than me because that means she's more popular than me. First of all, crowd size does not mean you're going to win an election, but he thinks that those correlate, which is why the first thing he did as president when he won in 2016, when he gets inaugurated in 2017, and he sends his press secretary out there to say, my crowds were bigger than Obama's. When you can look at a picture and see that it's like, he didn't have half the crowd that Obama had, okay?
Right.
It's because he feels that it has to be true, and he works back. Like, so he says, here's what the truth is, because it makes me feel good. And then he's surrounded himself with so many sycophants, they give him evidence that what he has said is true. And so I think he actually believes the lie. I think he believes the election was stolen in 2020. I think he believes all this stuff. Now, that doesn't make it any more dangerous. I'm just saying, I don't think he's willfully lying. I think he wants to believe something and then works backwards from there. And I think that's incredibly dangerous. Incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, little.
But I don't see how he digs out of the hole. I don't think it's that he doesn't want to be president again. If he didn't want to be president again, he wouldn't have ran. He wants to be president for no other reason to get himself off the legal hooks. Like, why is he running then?
Because he's got an ego.
But he doesn't benefit. But why would he want to lose then?
I've got 2 people that say the only reason he's running is because he doesn't want to lose.
But then why do you say he wants to lose? Because you just said that a second ago. You said he wants to lose.
Because he's already playing the stop the steal all over again. Look at all the arguments.
Why would you do that again?
Look at all the arguments he's ever made. They're all the same one.
Oh, I know. It's like a broken record.
Exactly.
Right, but what? But
when he lost in Iowa, when he lost to Ted Cruz in Iowa, what did he say? He cheated.
Right.
It was stolen.
Right, but
Ted.
But my question is why? So he lost the 2020 election and claimed it was stolen, and so why do that again if the vindication is I get to say it's stolen? I think he wants.
Because most Republicans still believe 2020 was stolen.
You're right, but it's because he says it. My point is why do it again? I just don't buy the thing that he wants to run for president but lose, because that doesn't make any sense to me. I think his ego.
No, he does. I don't know so much that he wants to lose. Well, first of all, he doesn't want to lose. He wants to win. It's all he's about. is winning, and winning in vengeance.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be president.
Oh, okay. I think that's fair. I mean, you're right.
Because there's too much where even as president, he has to listen to the secretary of this and the secretary of that and the director of this agency and so on and so forth.
Except I think
He
the difference
can't
is
run
now.
the boardroom like he's used to running the boardroom.
I know, but here's where I disagree with that. I think it's pretty clear that that's the lesson he learned from his first administration, and he wants to get rid of everyone that would possibly tell him no in a second administration. I don't think it's that he doesn't want to.
What is that going to lead to?
Well,
what is that going to lead to?
It leads to him
He
being
is
like
doing, and I made this argument before too. He is doing everything, and I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy who is right now in power as an elected official, who is now clearly acknowledged as a dictator in Turkey.
Erdogan.
That's it. First thing, he got the legislature on his side and scared the bejesus out of them so that they're just like the Republicans here were so far up his rear end, he looked like a millipede.
Yeah, but he's not going to get that kind of majority to be able to do that.
Then he got the courts. Erdogan owns the courts in Turkey. He's got all three branches.
Yeah, I don't think that works.
Trump
though.
is not far from that.
I think that's wrong. I think Trump is too inept to actually do that. We call him like a dictator. I'm not saying he doesn't want to be authoritarian. I'm saying he's not Hitler, because my favorite line, I think it's Jonah Goldberg that said it. He's not Hitler. Hitler could have repealed Obamacare. Like, he doesn't actually have any administrative way to do these things. Now, he could put some dangerous people in. I don't buy, like, the institution.
Don't you think that's worse?
Look, I'm not voting for Donald Trump. I'm not trying to say there's a good side of Donald Trump. I'm just saying I do not think he's I think you're giving him too much credit on his abilities to do these things.
I agree, dude. This is just political malpractice. I think it's all political malpractice. Look, let's just break it down. First of all, I think that assuming that we know what Trump's going to do when he's in office or how he's positioned himself is just like ridiculous, honestly.
Well, I think we know some of the things because he said some of it. He wants to fire all of basically everyone in the federal government and replace them with people that agree with him. Now, I'm not saying he can.
You don't think that's part of becoming a dictator?
Well, but I mean, he can only do that in the executive branch. He can't take over the courts. The courts have not sided with him, and he's mad about it.
Exactly. There's a lot of things he can do and a lot of things he can't do. But I think that what we should be talking about is how he is systematically working against his own interests. And I don't think that he's trying to lose the election. I don't think that he doesn't want to be president. I think that he just is. This is political malpractice from his team and himself that is literally losing his market share of the voter and electorate. And I think that it's very interesting to watch this total breakdown. And I think that the GOP, to be perfectly honest with you, I think homeless voters like yourself are going to vote Democrat this time because you have no home. And he's making it very hard. The fact is when you're making everything about, say, race or sex, the fact is a lot of good people don't want to associate with themselves with it. They're like, oh yeah, you know what? I don't say that thing, but he's making it all about this. Like, oh, are you Indian or Jamaican? Like, what are you talking about? I don't want to be involved with this conversation. I want you to talk about the border or the economy or inflation or these different things. But you're making it around these things. And good people that happen to be Republican don't want to deal with that. They're just like, hey, I want to get down the deficit. I want to have a smaller government. I want to do these other things. And he's polarizing his base. You saw what he did with Joe Rogan the other day. Mm-hmm. Absolutely the stupidest move on the planet. And for people who don't know, he tweeted at Joe Rogan after Joe Rogan on his show said nice things about RFK Jr. Didn't endorse him, but said nice things about RFK Jr. He then tweeted at Joe Rogan, truthed at Joe Rogan, that you will get booed next time you'll go into the UFC. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. Yeah. That is the stupidest move. Not only one is those are the base. Your Joe Rogan listeners are your base. Two, Joe Rogan listeners love Joe Rogan and are your base. Yeah. And number three, you're making a division between Dana White, who has openly supported you, gave you a lot of money and press time, and invited you to the UFC, and putting him in odds with one of his closest friends and advisors.
And to be honest,
this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And honestly,
honestly, anybody who's into politics should be mad because you're just looking at this going like, are you stupid?
His team
Yeah,
and Republicans are begging him
I've
to
always
get a message.
confused. I've always confused Joe Rogan with Dana
White.
Dana White.
Yeah, I always thought they were the same guy.
They look a lot alike. Well, you're right, Matt. But here's the thing. That's what proves to me that he doesn't have the ability to even do what's right for him to win this election. He can't even think one day in advance. He's angry right now and he's hurt because he feels like he's been slighted somehow in all of this, which is crazy. He had the best month
100%
of any politician maybe in the history of the United States. He has, the debate performance, and then he gets nearly assassinated. He has this like convention that goes off without a hitch. He still can't manage to do what his campaign's asking him to do. He did for those 2 weeks after the debate. You notice we didn't see Trump at all because his campaign obviously convinced him, you just need to not say a thing. They're going to crucify Biden for the next few weeks. And he listened to them then. He won't now. He's going to, I promise you, he will fire his campaign staff before this election is over. He will replace them with someone.
I think they're already talking about it.
And they're good. They're actually the first time
he's hearing the rumors. He's hearing the rumors about all of them, party included, replacing him.
That's my point. Is he can't even think one day in advance. He's not thoughtful. He's not actually planning this out. He is moving. He's always operating in the right now. That's it. He's never looking into the future, and I see no evidence that he ever is. Every policy accomplishment he had in his first term was something he didn't care about, and he delegated it to someone else. Those are all of his wins. And so you're right. I mean, he's gonna, at this point, I don't want to do straight line projections because lots can change. The truth is Kamala Harris is, we've not seen her at all other than doing teleprompter speeches, the exact same one every time in a rally. Her economic
and who's winning? And who's winning?
And she's going to win. And her, because he's not hitting her on two basic things. All he would have to do. Now, I disagree, Matt. I think most of the voters, here's the thing, 90% of the country, we know how they're going to vote. There's no surprise there. But there is a small percentage of the country that are gettable right now. Those people do not pay attention to politics the way that we do.
It's bigger than what you think.
But no, it's not. It's really not. It's very small.
Okay, tell me what the score is right here in Florida.
Trump's still going to win.
Very red state.
He could potentially lose it if he continues on the path he's on. But like
it's 47-50.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing. My point is,
New York Times just called Ohio as a toss-up now. I mean, obviously it's New York Times, grain of salt.
But hold on. Let me back up. What I'm saying is that take the race. Kamala's had a huge boost in the arm. I think she could actually lose. I think she could drop in the polling after the convention because I think.
Okay, stop a second. Stop right there. You just said it, and I've been saying this, and nobody seems to have. I mean, I don't even see it literally. I mean, on the big shows. Trump just had his convention.
Mm-hmm.
What happens at the end of every presidential candidate's convention?
Normally you get a bump.
Right.
He did not.
He actually fell.
He didn't fall, really. He stayed the same. If you look at the averages, he pretty much stayed
It was a strong stay the same.
He was still gaining because Biden was falling. It wasn't really that he was gaining.
It wasn't because he was gaining.
Yeah.
Right. It wasn't because he was going up. It was because Biden was going down.
But my point is that most people will sort into, even independents are going to sort into their side for the most part when it comes to November. The people that really are going to swing this in Pennsylvania and in Georgia, because for Georgia is a great example. Georgia is very much either pretty much hardcore Republican MAGA kind of types right now, or urban Democrats, young, like they're already sorted into the left-right thing. There are
it's two. It's Atlanta. Yeah. Versus everybody else.
It's a very small. It's not quite that simple because I think there's a young thing too. But the point is,
where are those young people?
Right. But if you want to win Georgia, you don't attack the very popular governor of Georgia, which is also something Trump is doing right now. Kemp has a 68% or 65% approval rating in Georgia across the board. That's not just Republicans. Trump has like a 47. He's underwater actually on favorability in Georgia. He needs people that like Brian Kemp to vote for him if he wants to win Georgia. And he really can't win this election probably if he doesn't win Georgia and Pennsylvania. You're right, Matt. He's doing absolutely nothing to win this race, but I don't think it's because it's a 3D chess move. He doesn't want to win, or I think
no. It's just he's bad. He's
very bad at this, and literally
he's very bad at this. and,
most,
it's obvious. It's obvious and it's apparent. And
yeah.
It's just remarkable because I've never seen somebody come off of a political high like he did to just get drowned out by the media. And everybody would say, and I know that there's some MAGA people out there that say, well, it's the mainstream leftist media. No, Fox is drowning him out.
Yeah.
Candace Owens has come out and said,
Yep.
dude, what are you doing your campaign?
Yeah.
Vivek Ramaswamy said, hey, why don't you get more substance to this? Like,
people are begging.
These are people who wanted to be his VP.
They are begging.
Aren't there 2 mayors and or governors that are Republican that just endorsed Kamala Harris?
Well, I mean, Matt, here's what's funny. We talked about a few weeks ago when we had the Biden problem of what are Democrats down ballot going to do? I mean, it's now the question is that for Republicans.
For the Republicans,
it's literally flipped.
I agree, and I think that they're going to lose They're going to lose both chambers.
I don't think they will. I
think so.
I think the Senate. They only have to win one state to win the Senate.
They lost it.
No,
they lost it.
I think if they win Montana, it's over. Like it'll be a 51-49 Senate. I'm not saying it should be a.
And here's the reason. Here's the reason. And this goes again to people who don't want to be associated with this. They're not going to vote or they're going to stay home because again, when you're making this a race play against the presidential candidate from the Democrats, a lot of like I said, Republicans that just want to talk about economics, that just want to talk about freedoms and the Constitution, don't want to be associated with this. They're just going to stay out of it. When you're calling a huge swath of voters cat ladies and really saying weird things about women and their responsibilities and their role in the workplace, and this is JD Vance a lot of women that are Republican are going to come out and say, look, you know what? We've seen the writing on the wall. We've seen what you did with Roe. We didn't like that. That's why in the states, both states that were coming out and were voting in abortion rights, we are seeing they're not going to stand by idly and just go, we're not going to vote, or they will actively take part in this. And you see Gen Z finally getting out and saying, hey, you know what? We're going to take a role now. We're going to start stepping out. TikTok, and this is a barometer of what's happening. TikTok is on fire, and that's not by Gen X and millennials and boomers. That is Gen Z. And so I think that Republicans really have to. I think that there's a little bit of cope happening with Republican voters that say that they're not, that this is not going to be a domino effect on everything that is going to lose them 3 just like Biden.
Yeah,
absolutely, like Biden. Because here's what's happening right now, and I'm going to tell you from experience. Sherrod Brown was making phone calls. I was making phone calls 2 weeks before Biden dropped out. I made thousands of calls. His team probably made tens of thousands of calls. I'm assuming I didn't talk to him. I'm assuming. And the number one conversation that we had with all of these people that were asking for money for was, what are you going to do about Biden? Is Biden dropping out? What's going to happen? We can't give until we figure out what's going to happen. And we had to campaign for him, and we had to figure out how to get money from people that didn't want Biden on the ticket. When Biden dropped, all things were different. Yeah. They are having the same conversations. The Trump team, the Bernie Moreno team in Congress, the Max Miller team, who is running against me right now in Congress, they're calling their constituents and saying, how is your boy messing up so bad that we don't want to give money? And I promise you that is going to be a downstream, and they're losing all 3. And I'm gonna gloat.
Hey, you're right, but hey,
I'm gonna gloat
right now. I do think Republicans will hold the Senate, or will get the Senate, because all it takes is one Republican running in one of those states. Because keep in mind, the map is like very advantageous to Republicans this race. Okay, in the Senate specifically. I think all it takes is one candidate in one of those states to go, look, the polls clearly show Kamala Harris is going to win this race. You need to vote for me so that I can keep her in check and she doesn't have all the House and the Senate. That will work because 20% of Republican voters were still voting for Nikki Haley, and even when it didn't matter anymore. Those people will vote for someone to make sure that balance of power is there. So I really
on the screen right now, and I got to be a little bit more descriptive for those listening on radio and social audio and whatever else. We got 3 maps that we can look at. One is the current 118th Congress, which shows 47 Democrats, 4 independents that are left-leaning, making 51, and 49 Republicans. The map that was up a minute ago, we'll put back up now, is the interactive map. We can change these, I think. Yeah. What was Indiana? Sorry.
basically there's 7 toss-ups for the Senate right now. It's Nevada, Arizona, Montana, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania. Those are the only ones that are not pretty completely safe. Okay. The problem right now is that I think all but one of them in polling against their Democratic counterpoint right now are running behind where Carrie Lake is in Arizona as their candidate. So it's not great, but like I said, all you need is one of those states. You got to hold the states, which they'll hold the states they have. So 1 in 7, I feel like, is a pretty good shot because all you need is one of them. They only literally have to win one race because they're going to flip West Virginia. So Democrats are going to lose that, which makes it 50-50. So I think the worst case scenario, they're 50-50 Senate, but of course you get the tiebreaker if you win the presidency, and Tim Walz becomes the tiebreaker, just like Kamala Harris was the tiebreaker for the first couple of years of the Biden administration. So I think it's more likely than not. I wouldn't bet my house on it for sure, because Matt, you're right. They're going to have to pivot at some point, but I do think there's a decent chance that a couple senators that go like, I don't care if Trump doesn't come help. I actually don't want him to come help me campaign. You're going to get people saying, please don't come here. And he's going to start attacking those people and stuff. I don't think it's going to make a difference. Like, I don't think of course, Brian Kemp's not up for election this year. I don't think it's hurting his popularity in Georgia because Trump is attacking him. I think Trump, because he looks like a sinking ship, just like Biden looks like a sinking ship, I think that we're going to get into a situation. What really bothers me about all of this, though, is that it lets Kamala Harris and the media get away with running a substance-free campaign and her never talking to the media because it's working, because Trump just continues to act crazy. All Trump has to do is go, this lady wants to defund just like say the things she said in 2019. Here's the things all she wants to say. And you don't even have to say all of them. You can just be like, she is in the Biden-Harris administration and they are responsible for the crisis at the border. And they're also responsible for the inflation, the reason your prices are higher. And now she wants to do price controls, which is, you can't say you're moderating and then be like, but I'm for federal price controls on groceries. That's some Marxism BS right there. That's like socialism. That is absolutely, you can't pretend to be moderating. And then your first policy you come out with is, I want to regulate the price of milk across the entire country. Price controls don't work. He could hit her on that and but he won't. He just will not do it. He will not listen to his campaign staff, which means we will get a president that we really have no idea what she's going to do. We do not know who Kamala Harris is. That bothers me. I mean, I think we know who she is. I think she is closer to the person she was in 2019 than she is pretending to be moderating now. But it's ridiculous that basically Kamala Harris's game plan right now is to take the same positions that Trump takes, because then he can't hit her on those positions. So the no tax for tips things she took up, because she's like, well, why the hell not? I don't even have to do this. I can just say it. And then he can't make that be a differentiating factor between us. They're trying to make this election entirely about feelings. And elections are generally too much about feelings. We're very dumb voters, but it has become entirely about feelings. And that's one way I disagree, Matt. I don't think people care about policy. I don't think people care about fiscal responsibility. They only seem to care about that if the other side is doing the thing they don't like. They don't care about if it's their side. And no one can pick a policy.
All right. We get it. You disagree with him.
No, but I mean, I think he's right. I think that he's right about. I mean, Trump cannot get out of his own way.
So
we should call this the alpaca show, man. This guy just goes off, man.
Yeah.
It just makes me mad because we'll never fix the problems we have as a government and as a country if we don't take this more seriously. And we're not.
I think that we all take this very seriously, but I think we also we are playing into, or no, we're not playing into. We are acknowledging the reality of this, and that you're right. It is a identity politics, and the feelings that you have about certain things and candidates are the main factor of things. I mean, look, I ride a motorcycle, right? I have a Honda. And I've been thinking about buying a new bike, and I go out riding on the weekends with this group of guys. You know what bike they have? All of them. What kind of bikes they have?
Harleys.
They all have Harleys.
Yeah.
And when I go to bike rallies, guess what the number one bike is?
Harleys.
Guess what the percentage of Harleys are to any other bike there are?
Like in the country?
98.
What'd you say?
I bet it's small.
98.
99% of all Harleys. The identity is a very big issue when you are doing something like this. And look, and politics has found a way to brand and make identity and feelings and brand a very the most important aspect of politics. And so much so that I've been looking. I was this close to buying a new Honda Rebel 1100 because I wanted to step up my bike a little bit. That on my short list is now a Harley Night Rod. So it's a thing. It is absolutely a thing.
I don't want to do that. Sorry.
Yeah, it bums me out because I think
So-
ideas matter more.
But
Ideas
what-
absolutely matter more.
everything-
Governance matters
of
more.
everything that Blake
Operations matters
said.
more. Policy matters more because these are the things
Yeah.
that matter more. But what is the easiest thing to do, and what makes you feel good? And it's very hard to have a I guess an open mind or a subjective or objective approach to how am I being biased, and like, and to put in the other thing is what we don't award objective approaches to calling out your own bias. We
Right.
call people flip-floppers, we call them weak, we call them undecided, we call them uncommitted, we call them independents, we call them there's all these different things that we call it. And I'm not saying independent is a bad word, but I am saying that it puts you in a category of what do you really believe?
Mhm.
What do you feel, right? And because you have this objective approach, you don't stand for anything, right? And that is what people kind of associate with it. And anyway, go anyway. I still might get an Indian Scout. That's what the whole
Those are
moral of the story
sweet.
is.
Well, of everything that Blake said, the only thing I can remember is when he
says a
said
lot.
that we don't know. Yeah, exactly. And I'm like just listening for a pause so I can jump in.
Yeah, Blake has this
yeah.
weird, cool thing he does, and some people have this when they speak. Is they just put a comma after something where you're just like, and they go up in their tone, and it's like, and then I was writing my and then you're just like, is that the end? Nope, but he has something else, and it's just like,
I blame it
can't
on
jump
my
in yet.
ADHD.
Finish your thought. Put a
And
period.
No, I'm all parenthetical. ADHD. It's how I run.
I don't want to mute him because that's kind of a
timer
dick
back up.
move. But we got to jump in somehow. Anyway, the big difference between Trump and Harris is on some level, I think the team that she's got behind her versus the team that he's got behind him. I'm starting to agree with, I think, you, Blake, when you said this team is better than 2016. Is that you?
Yeah, I mean, I think he has a better Trump has a better campaign team than he did in 2016 or 2020, or maybe at some point he was listening to them more. It's hard to know which one. But I mean, I certainly think they've ran a good campaign. It's just that he won't listen to them. At this
Okay,
point.
so that, but also she gets it. The same thing that any first-term president wants, or in this case, first-term vice president, is what would for be her now, second and third term, because she's only vice president first time around. I think what's going to happen, and we've been talking about it all day, or at least in this whole second hour, Republicans are going to distance themselves from him, just like Matt had to do with Biden, to get themselves elected, to at least keep her in check, to a point where those two mayors or governors or mayor and governor, whatever they were, because of, whatever they were and are endorsing Kamala now,
Hey,
aren't going to be doing that when Mike Pence runs for president in 2028.
He
Where are
won't.
those two governors?
That's just a name. I don't know.
Where are those two
I
governors?
think one of them, I think it's Nevada, is a mayor.
Yeah, I read about it. There's a couple mayors. Here's where I think you're
Are they
wrong.
both
though.
mayors?
There's mayors. They're not governors.
I don't
Yeah,
think there's a
it's somebody from the executive branch of whatever. But my point being is,
I mean,
we've been talking about how Trump is falling apart.
right. And so what I was trying to illustrate here is that Sherrod Brown has also distanced himself from the Democrat campaign right now as well. He has, and again, I'm not. This is me not talking to the campaign. Just want full disclosure. I have no clue, but he is not going to the DNC. He has went every year, but he's not going to the convention this year. And everybody's going, why? This reminds me of Tim Ryan's strategy back, in 2022, where he basically pushed the Democrats aside and said, I'm running this moderate independent sort of like campaign that was trying to get both sides of the island, and eventually kind of just failed. Now, now, as you saw on the map, Ohio is a Senate toss-up state. It can go either way, but Brown being very popular, but it's a red state, so I'm wondering, and that's why I asked about the governors, which governors came out and
I'm looking that up now.
Endorse Harris, because that's interesting that they would back away from it, because honestly, I don't know if backing away from your party during an election is actually the best thing to do.
It depends on what it is. I mean,
Well, one of them's getting pushed to resign.
it depends where you live too, because like, for example, if you are in a let's take Tim Walz for example. Tim Walz, when he's in Congress, is the most moderate Democrat in Congress because he's in a district that's traditionally red, and he has to be moderate to keep winning that district. He becomes governor of the state with a Democratic thing, and he goes all in on the progressive thing. It does depend on where you're running. The way I think you're wrong though, Jurgs, is that the difference is Joe Biden was just the nominee for the Democratic Party. People were Democrats. He didn't have a base of voters that were enthusiastic about Joe Biden. And I don't really think Kamala Harris does either. I think they're just enthusiastic that it's not Biden and not Trump. And the difference is the Republican Party has been completely transformed to be Trump's party. So I don't see there being a huge backlash of like, if Trump starts losing pretty badly, I don't see that Republicans will be able to come out and run against him and say, vote for me, even though he's going to lose, to keep her in check, because they'll have to then say that Donald Trump is a loser, and that will get them excommunicated from the party that elected this guy. They nominated this guy by vote. They didn't want Nikki Haley, who could have ran a better campaign against Kamala Harris. They didn't want Ron DeSantis. They wanted Donald Trump. This is Trump's party.
You're right about Trump's party, but they didn't want Trump.
Yes, they did. They voted for him more than 50%.
There's some reason that people like Mitch McConnell,
I'm saying they the
McCarthy,
I'm saying
all
they
the people in the leadership positions are scared to go against him.
That's my point, is that they will not go against Trump this time, just like they didn't last time, just like they didn't impeach and
remove him. But people who are going against him are being pushed out.
Right. So that's why I'm saying I don't think that people will say, vote for me to keep Kamala Harris in check, because Trump's going to lose. Because the second they admit out loud that Trump's going to lose, that's like anti-Trump's brand.
Who's the GOP candidate? Who's the Republican who endorsed? It still doesn't say.
I've got the one article here.
Yeah, scroll down. Down, Jurgs.
Yeah, and so I mean, I think there's a huge difference in the two parties. The Democratic Party, like, technically did what they needed to do.
And the headline says it's going to be a full list. I expect to see a list. There we go. Rod Chandler of Washington. These are Congress members.
Okay.
Tom Coleman of Missouri. Dave Emery of Maine. Wayne Gilchrist of Maryland. Jim Greenwood of Pennsylvania.
I've never
These are Republicans.
Any of these people.
Yes. John LaBaudelet of New York. Susan Molinari of New York. Jack Quinn of New York. Denver Riggleman of Virginia. Claudine Schneider of Rhode Island. And Virginia, that's been back and forth. Christopher Shays of Connecticut. Peter Smith of Vermont. Two liberal states. So
my guess is I would guess all those
Texas
swing districts, not safe.
Yeah, 100%.
Say it again.
I would guess every one of those people are in a district that's not safe. If you're in a safely
100%.
red district, you're not going to come out. And
100%.
Which does, I mean, you're right. So some people might, but that's why I'm saying I think it only takes one of those people running for Senate for Republicans to hold the Senate. The House, I think I am more with Matt. I think that they could lose it, even though they should win it, because I think that there's more unsafe seats essentially, and they're going to be writing down ballot from someone that no one wants. I mean, yes, he's got his base, but you can't win elections just by trying to turn out your base. It doesn't work. People think it works. It doesn't. It hasn't ever worked. And, but he's going to keep trying.
Other prominent figures in the Republicans for Harris program. I mean, this is another thing I wanted to point out. You don't see it. Democrats against Harris. You don't see, like there's the log cabin Republicans or the Lincoln Republicans. You don't see the Kennedy Democrats being for Trump.
Oh, well, we haven't seen them yet, but I mean, this kind of pro-Hamas crowd was like that with Joe Biden for sure. We haven't had the chance to see them with Kamala yet, but we don't know what's. I mean, it could turn into
pro-Hamas crowd. That pro-Hamas crowd is the same thing as the amount of money we're sending to Ukraine when compared against the entire national budget. They are but a fraction.
They are a loud fraction, though, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying
so is the money going to Ukraine.
Those are two totally different analogies. I'm just saying that, like, there are people that didn't like Joe Biden inside the Democratic Party. There are people that don't like Kamala. They're more concerned with unity right now and beating Trump than, like, if this would have happened 6 months earlier, I don't think Kamala Harris becomes the nominee. I think there would have been a real fight. I think the reason, and by the way, she inherited Biden's campaign staff. So this is really the same campaign staff. Biden obviously wanted to do the debate. They couldn't hide Biden because he wanted to get out there. She's apparently listening to them, and they're saying, shut your mouth, don't say anything because you're an idiot. I'm sure they're saying it nicer than I am right now, but she's obviously following their direction, and Biden didn't. So it's not about the staff, it's about the candidate. And I don't think that makes her a good candidate, because I think you should be able to go out there and do an interview if you want to be the president of the freaking United States. But at least she's listening to her staff.
I thought I was sharing that tab instead, but that's the list.
That's what you should have been sharing.
Yeah, you speak up.
I'll have to look at that.
How many times do I have to say scroll down?
I knew what I was looking
understand for. That we were looking at the wrong thing, bro.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the states. I mean, the state, Maine, Maryland, Pennsylvania, New York, Virginia, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Vermont, Michigan, 100%. And Illinois. Texas is the only one on that list that's a red state. Missouri is kind of a purpley weird state. So yeah, those are people in not safe districts that have to, they've got to distance them. They've probably always have. And there's people know that you got to do that. The problem is Trump doesn't like that, even if it's good politics. So it's not going to work out well for them, I don't think, because Trump will probably tell people to not go vote for them.
Because Trump is very bad at this.
And Trump controls the party. Kamala does not.
He's very bad at this, and he controls the party. He's very bad at it.
And I think the only way the party gets better is for him to lose like bad. Unfortunately, I don't think he'll lose bad.
So you're about to use your 1490, by the way, Jurgs.
Yeah. We're got to say goodbye to 1490. We already left America One Radio. They're only for an hour. I think we're going to lose the UG over in London. Shout out to them as well. We'll wrap this up on Jurgs Radio if we do lose you. Jurgs, YERGZ, radio.com. And wherever else you get your internet radio. Matt, go ahead.
Oh, man.
Did you just want to tell me we were going to lose 1490, or did you have anything?
I think I had something, but I just want to let you know I was going to lose. You were going to lose 1490, but now I forgot.
Okay. Well, point of all that being...
we were talking about whatchamacallit. We were talking about Trump being bad at this and him being in control of the party. One thing somebody said to me back when I was running last cycle, I think it was back in early 2020. I had a consultant that used to be in touch with Nancy Pelosi, and she said, and I thought this was very interesting. Pelosi doesn't care what you do as long as it benefits the party, and you let her know first.
You're absolutely right, because she's good at politics.
Right.
And I thought that was very, very eye opening. She's like, just let her know. It doesn't matter if you she's like, because we're talking about bashing Pelosi or something, like, because Pelosi stock trading. She's like, she doesn't care as long as you tell her. Let her know so she's not blindsided, and it benefits your race in the party.
But look, the problem is that we do not have very many people like Pelosi or Mitch McConnell anymore that care more about the institutions or their parties than they do themselves. And that's only going to get worse as the people that were serious about it. And I'm not saying I agree with everything either one of them did. I'm just saying they clearly cared more about their party. They clearly cared more about the institutions of the Senate and the House than a lot of the people below them. And I just think that as we lose those people, it's only going to get worse. We need people that care about these institutions. We need people that care about their parties. I would like the parties to be stronger. I think the parties right now are very, very weak. I think we think they're strong, but look at how this whole race has turned out. I don't think if the Republicans had any control over it, they were broadcasting for the last couple of years that Biden wouldn't be. Everyone was saying, if you're voting for Biden, you're voting for Kamala Harris because she's going to be the president one way or another. He's either going to drop out or he's going to die in office, or, everyone saw this. I mean, Nikki Haley said it when she was running. Everyone said this. Now that clip's being used against her because it was so obviously true. Republicans, instead of picking someone that could beat someone else other than Joe Biden, they chose not to do that and stick with Trump, who basically can't beat anyone but Joe Biden.
I still say he doesn't want to be president. And the only reason this is all happening, and I'm not the only one that said this, by the way, the only reason that this is all happening is because he's got dirt. It's not, hey, I'm the best one.
No, he's just bullied.
Kevin McCarthy knows he's not the best one.
But what's the evidence that he's got dirt on someone that made this whole thing happen? He tapped into a
Kevin McCarthy movement. Is anti-Trump, goes down and has lunch, proven that no food was ever served, goes and has lunch with the Fuhrer, and comes back. Oh, you know what? I'm going to be behind Trump.
Not because dirt. It's because he knows that he can end their political careers. That is the weight.
What do you call it?
That's not dirt. He doesn't have it's not like he's got some sex tape of them or something. All he has is that I have.
But he's got leverage.
Yeah, but that's not dirt. Leverage that's my point.
And he's got leverage. I'll change the wording.
He's absolutely got leverage.
They're afraid of him.
The leverage is.
Nobody was afraid of Biden when George Clooney took his money and ran.
You're right.
In all actuality, they were still statistically tied.
The problem is that Biden doesn't have a fan base and Trump does, and Trump can tell those people to do anything, including not vote. That's why Republicans lost.
Here's that fan base. I started coming to this area in 2020 as I was preparing to leave the Secret Service. When I was here in late 2020, right after the election, this place was filled with Trump signs. And I don't mean Trump signs like the one for a local politician that I'm supporting in my yard. I mean Trump signs that were 8 by 12, 3 sheets of 4 by 8 plywood put together to make a small billboard, a big sign.
It'd be 8 by 16.
They were all over the place. I can't find one of those now.
That doesn't mean that they don't. I agree. His base is shrinking, but it's in the Republican Party. They control it. And that's why he won the primaries, because those voters.
And he's still got to get the votes.
Yeah, but not
in 2020.
But that's not a way. You can't win a general election doing that. He didn't in 2020. He got lucky in 2016 because Hillary Clinton.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
He's nowhere close to what these polls are saying he is.
No, I think he is, because most people are still holding their nose because they're voting against the party.
Little old Blake in Oklahoma City says, I'm going to believe the polls. The 4 political scientists that I talked to this past week said I've never believed polls.
Well, but how do you explain
one of them
correct in 2020 and 2016?
Has chosen the past 10 presidents by his own study.
That's fine, but you can't just write off polling as if it doesn't matter at all. Do you think Kamala's going to win now?
It's done by people who want certain results in the first place. It's not a poll.
No, I'm not saying you trust all polls, but there are good polls. Nate Silver is very freaking good at his job, and he's been right about almost everything. And because keep in mind, he's giving percentage odds. He's not saying it can't happen. He's saying Hillary Clinton had a 60% chance of winning or something in 2016. But he said, but really, when you look back at the polls of 2016 and 2020, they're within the margin of error. They are often national polls that look at the popular vote, and they are correct within the margin of error of 2016 and 2020. See you, Matt. So they're not wrong.
Oh, he's going to go later, man.
And they are, I mean, I'm not saying you trust every poll. I only trust people that look at polls and look at good ones, look at bad ones, look at how the questions are answered. But you can generally trust that, like, I think Kamala's pump is real. That's the reason Trump's in trouble, is because of the polls. So why was he winning and now he's in trouble if the polls aren't correct? That's my what is the measurement of who's doing well and who's not? Then I know about this guy. Yeah, I know about him. Yeah.
Okay. So, but he's got 9 of the past 10. You know which one he didn't get?
I don't think most of the 9 of the last 10 were hard to guess. When did he guess them?
He's using a specific set of characteristics.
Right. But his characteristics don't work for this one because because one of them is about the incumbency and one of them is about the economy.
They worked in 2016.
Well, I know, but I'm saying this one's different because it's the way Kamala Harris
2016 wasn't different.
Oh, this is totally different. There's a nominee that didn't get any votes in a primary. It's totally different. And she's sort of an incumbent, but not exactly an incumbent.
In 2020, Trump was sort of an incumbent, or
no, he wasn't. He was an actual incumbent.
Now he was sort of an incumbent.
Right, but the poll said he was going to lose that.
He was still saying Biden.
So why do you say the polls are wrong?
Because it's not as close as what they're trying to make it out to be.
I think it is. I mean,
why?
Today it is.
Because they want to be relevant. That's exactly what this man here said. I got to get to that screen so you can tell
oversimplifying
who he is. This is a political scientist and historian who has predicted the last 10 presidents, Alan Lichtman, and the one that he missed was Bush versus Gore, who, and I'm not saying this should be the deciding factor, but Gore had the popular vote. And I'm not, again, that there's a reason why we have the Electoral College, and I'm something very in favor of. Lichtman, a professor at American universities, is in D.C., rejected the growing chorus of political pundits and Democratic activists who have called on Biden 81 to bow out.
He would have lost the race.
Pivotal moment.
Prove it. It's not improvable.
Fresh questions about Biden's age and ability to serve a second term. It's a huge mistake. They're not doctors. They don't know whether Biden is physically capable of carrying out a second term or not. I said the same thing.
Okay, but
the second term was not going to be Biden's issue.
But here's my question then.
Campaign.
So here's my question then. If the polls are wrong, then why is Kamala Harris raising more money than Biden? Why is she ahead in the polls now? Why is she maybe talking about flipping states that weren't flippable states a month ago by Biden? If the polls are just non-existent, why is that happening?
The polls say that she is still trailing in some states or statistically tied.
Right, but she's gained on Trump. But she's ahead now in, I think, 4 of the 7.
I'm not saying that she's gained. I'm saying that she's pulled ahead.
Well, she has pulled ahead in 4 of the 7 states, I think.
No. I don't mean within the margin of error where it could still be a Trump victory.
I think that
I stand by my original prediction when Biden was still in. I still say November is not going to be close. I'm not saying full-blown landslide, but I do think it will be a 3-way, meaning White House and both houses of Congress, decisive victory for the Democrats.
I'm not quite willing to make a prediction like that yet because I think so much can still happen. We haven't even seen the convention. I don't think
if this trajectory continues,
but like that's all we could always say that. We said that a month ago.
I was basing it on back in the fall, or back in the spring.
Right, but I mean, Kamala's going to have to open her mouth sometime between now and November, probably.
And that was the point I was trying to make earlier when you went on your 20-minute dissertation. She is not Donald Trump. That's why she's not giving interviews right now.
Yeah, but I think she
knows she's better when it comes to campaigning. She's better with the teleprompters. She's better when Palestinian protesters interrupt her events and Mama Kamala's their ass.
I actually don't like the way she did that. I think she could have better called that out. But I don't think you say we're going to meet.
Awesome.
I don't think you say we're going to meet about an arms embargo. Now, I don't necessarily trust because that came from
their I'm talking about when the one where she said, if you want to vote for Donald Trump, vote for Donald Trump. But right
exactly
now,
what you said. If you want Donald
I'm
Trump to
speaking.
win, that's fine. But
And then she stared him down.
yeah, but she's not really dealing with them. If she really did say, yeah, let's have a meeting and talk about an arms embargo to Israel, that's going to lose her votes. If she really did something like
If
that.
she sides with one side of that issue, it's going to lose her votes.
No,
If she sides with the other side of that issue, it's going to lose her votes.
You are right.
She's going to be a better one to handle that issue because she's going to make a decision.
But I don't think she can pretend. Like, the problem right now is that she's tried to not take a position on anything so she doesn't have to alienate any of the Democratic Party. And I don't know that that works well. I still say right now, if I had to guess, yeah, Trump's going to lose it because he can't get on message. But her message right now, she's not on message either. She's just not saying anything.
Which means what?
Well,
her ears are still open.
Oh no, I think everything's open. I think that either one of them could.
No,
it's become
Trump has made his decision.
Yeah,
Trump has made his decision. He said that with regards to the Iranian threat on his life.
Yeah,
that
he could change too.
Obviously, it's because I've told people which way I go. He's all for another person who has been accused of autocracy.
Right, but there is a problem in that Trump's base will go with whatever he says, and Kamala's base will not necessarily. She can piss people off with what she says. Trump can say whatever he wants, and people will go with it now because that's how much control he has over the party. So my point is that Trump could get his act together tomorrow, and I think he could still win this race.
Never happened.
Now, he won't do that, I don't think. I would never bet money.
How many times has he, quote unquote, gotten his act together?
He never had.
Remember in 2016 when they took his phone away from him and those tweets were actually intelligent? That was his staff.
Well, I mean,
was not him tweeting.
The smart people I know that are very good at this politics stuff and reading the stuff say that they think the Access Hollywood tape actually won him the presidency because it scared him enough to get religion and listen to people that were telling him, you want to win this.
It won him the presidency because the hicks that are my neighbors thought that was awesome.
No. You're wrong.
Disgusting looking women down here that would love for him to grab them by the pussy.
I know, but you are wrong.
That goes back to the George Carlin thing.
Have
you ever noticed that all the women who are against abortion are women you wouldn't want to in the first place?
Yeah. Here's my problem with that. What happened is that after that happened, he got on message and said, these are the judges I'm going to pick. I care about this. And he started talking about fiscal response. He started talking about issues that the Republican base actually cared about and were nervous about him being able to represent. And most of them said, okay, I like that better than Clinton. If he wouldn't have gotten on message, he wouldn't have won. He got on message with normal conservative things. That's what potentially won it for him because he was losing it going into that. And that's the other reason wrong is because they were old and they didn't reflect that change. And then the other problem is that Hillary Clinton just decided not to campaign in Wisconsin and Michigan, which was foolish. And so my point is that he got scared enough in 2016. Now, I think the problem is the lesson. He didn't learn a lesson from that though, because he hasn't done it since. He didn't do it in 2020. He didn't do it during COVID. All he had to do was be the leader people were asking him to be during COVID, and he would have won in 2020. He couldn't do it though.
So does that sound like somebody? Sorry, my headphones have my. I'm louder today, and it's messing me up. Does that sound like somebody who wants to be president?
I think he wants to be. He just can't.
Basic campaigning things that, for you and me, we can sit here and debate, what has to happen to successfully have a campaign. We bring Matt back on, who's done it before.
Yeah.
Don't you think he's got a little bit more knowledge about it?
Well, for sure. But
Kamala Harris and all the people on her side don't have that knowledge.
I just think your causation is wrong. I don't think it's that he doesn't want to be president. I think it's that he can't.
Then why isn't he listening to what you just said? He's not going to.
Because he can't. It's not because he doesn't want. I think he wants to be all sorts of things. He can't do it because he doesn't have the discipline. That's really what it boils down to. But I don't think it's that he doesn't want to. I don't buy the conspiracy theories that he doesn't really want to run. I don't even believe him when he says, I didn't have to do this. I only did it because he wants to. Honestly, if for nothing else, to be able to pardon himself. I mean, let's be completely honest.
At this point, yeah.
You know what I mean? And so
in
he wants
2016, no. He just ran because, and Howard Stern said it. I have a guy from the hospitality industry, Anthony Melchiori, who said it. He was never interested in actually being the president of the United States.
I would agree that he
because
was
he has
surprised
to
that he won.
share authority.
I just don't buy it.
His
Why would you?
kids,
He's been talking about
Tom
it for
Jr.,
decades.
Eric, they are so far up his rear end.
Well, of course, but
You can't see their face.
he's been kicking it around for decades. I mean, I think it's something he really wanted.
He's been kicking it around because he was told to.
No,
When he wrote his first book, and this is a documented conversation, he wrote his first book, and his publicist said, you should announce that you're running for president. It'll up your sales. And he didn't.
Sure.
He didn't. And his sales went through the roof anyway. It's like, okay, boom.
I think it's pretty clear.
And the second book came around.
He wants
the second book came around.
He convinced me he doesn't.
And stop talking over me. The second book came around, and he's already got a book out. So now he's got something to prove. He's got to get that appeal.
It's a vanity project for a lot of people. Yeah.
So now he throws it out there, but doesn't really do anything with it. So now he's got to scare Obama because, maybe he's going to run in 2012. 2016 comes along, and he's already in a pissing match with NBC. He's lost awards to Survivor, I think it was, that beat him for the Emmy.
And he was pissed about that, too. He thought that was rigged.
And what was it? What was the cause of that loss? Was it because he's bringing on has-been celebrities like Gary Busey and Meatloaf? Or was it because Survivor actually beat him?
I mean, I don't really care about the Emmys between two terrible reality shows, but
I mean, point being, it wasn't the fix that was in that he accused it of being.
Well, no, it never is.
And so he goes to NBC saying, I want more money, even though he doesn't have an Emmy. He needs publicity. And he comes down the golden escalator and announces that he's running for president.
I'm fine with all of that theory, except it doesn't explain why he runs this year. It does not explain why. If he doesn't want to be president, why run?
You said it yourself. He's not mentally stable. It's no longer about being president for him. The guy didn't even come into the Oval Office every day until 11:30 in the morning.
Oh, I know. I mean, yeah,
George W. was having lunch by then.
I know he's not interested in doing the real job, but he wants to be the president. I agree.
No, he wants to be a dictator, and he wants to win.
Well, but
that's it.
But I mean, that means he wants to be president. I mean, my point is, we're like
but the Republicans have been projecting for the past 8 years. And when I say projecting, I mean, here's our fault. We're going to blame that fault on you and say it's your fault. And one of those things is, you said it yourself, and Matt said it. If you vote for Biden, you're voting for Kamala Harris.
Mm-hmm.
How much of that administration was actually really done by Mike Pence?
Well, I mean, we don't know.
A lot.
I don't know. It was. I mean, I think Mike Pence definitely helped. I think he's certainly hired the people that were cared actually about Republican and conservative policies, and there's no doubt about that. Of course, that happens in a lot of administrations, but I agree. He doesn't have any sense in. He doesn't have an interest in governing, but he does want to be the president. He wants the power.
He just wants to win. Well, and that goes back to my other argument, was that he doesn't want to be the president as we know a sitting president to be.
Right, but I mean, I guess my
He's
point
all
is,
about
what
that
does it
autocracy.
matter? What is
And
motivation?
we want to call it a dictator because Americans don't have dictators. We don't have kings. But he's doing the exact same steps as Erdogan has taken.
Yeah, but without the
and has
competency.
successfully used.
But without the
He
competency.
supported. He supported the Colombian incumbent who questionably just won re-election.
No, you mean Venezuelan, right?
Is it Venezuelan?
I think
Somewhere down there.
Venezuela's the one that just had. No, you're right. No, I mean he likes strongman. He wants to be a strongman because if you're not a strongman, what are you? He's a loser, and he doesn't want to be a loser. But I don't think that means
he wants to win.
Right, but none of this his motivation honestly doesn't matter at all to me, other than to know that he.
But see, that's the part that's scary. It doesn't matter to you anymore.
No, I'm saying it's
If we were having this conversation about Ronald Reagan 40 years ago, he's out. Another actor.
Well, of course. Yeah, we've got there's no.
Ronald Reagan had the political savvy to be a politician.
Right. Well, and to be fair, Donald Trump.
The stupidest thing Reagan ever said was, I'll think of two examples. And one was funny as hell and won him the debate when he debated Walter Mondale. Mm-hmm. And he was asked a question about being able to get up in the middle of the night. And his response was, I am not going to make the age and inexperience of my opponent. And everybody just starts cracking up laughing because Walter Mondale was an old man too. Yeah. The other only stupid thing he's ever said was when he got in front of a mic in a studio for his weekly radio address and said, we begin bombing in 5 minutes, referring to the Russians, having no idea it was a hot mic and the Russians were listening.
Yeah.
That was a little backpedaling and a big bro hug that had to happen.
Yeah. But I mean, you're right. He has he has, to be fair, completely transformed one of the two parties in the country by bullying his way into doing that. I don't think it's because he's a good leader or a politician.
It's not even, if you still even want to call the Republican Party that.
It is. I mean, it's his party now. I mean, the point is he's
and that's my point. As soon as he's out, the Republican Party comes back to normal.
It will not.
They're not going to take his kids. They're not going to take J.D. Vance.
You say that, but why have they continued to do this for 8 years now, Yergs? If that's
because the kids are proven now part of a failure.
They had the chance in 2020 to remove him and make him never be able to run again, and they didn't do it.
He had too much. He didn't lose yet.
Yes,
he didn't lose in 2020.
Yes, he did. And
I'm saying at that point, he had not yet lost.
Yes, he had. I'm talking about in 2021.
No, he hadn't. He was. You said it yourself earlier. He was the sitting president. In 2020, we're about to have that election. He has not lost yet.
Okay, I'm talking about 2021 when the Senate could have removed him for what happened on January 6th. What happened between November and January? They chose not to remove him, even though Republicans vocally said they were against him. They just said, we'll let the courts decide this stuff. They punted because it was not worth the short-term pain. They wouldn't even take that pain. They did the same thing in 2024. Instead of going, we can't let this guy run again, and let's get behind Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, Chris Christie, any of these other people on stage, they didn't do it because they're cowards. My point is that will not change. After they have let the populace take over the party, it will not change. JD Vance, it will I do not believe for a second that Donald Trump loses this election and the Republican Party goes back to normal in 2026.
It's not going to be an immediate, snap of the finger. And
I think it's a generation. I mean, I hope I'm wrong.
One of two things is going to happen. Either there's going to be a progressive repair of what we used to know as the Republican Party.
What do you mean by that?
Because they call people like Mitt Romney, Liz Cheney, and Adam Kinzinger rhinos.
Because they don't like Trump. That's it.
Those are the Republicans.
But
MAGA knuckleheads are the weirdos.
I know, but they have the majority of the party now.
Okay, and I get that. I get that.
Elected representatives.
But once the real the head of Medusa, all the other snakes die.
I would love for you to be right.
Aggressively, maybe not right away.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to be a huge window for somebody like, God forbid, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, somebody with enough name recognition, and maybe they don't win the White House in 2028 either, because they're still building the team. But I've been saying this is what they should have been doing since he won in 2016, and he never won. They never wanted him, and they tried to pull him aside and put their arm around him and buddy and say, okay, here's what we got to do, and he wouldn't nothing of it.
Yeah, I see. The reason I don't think this works.
2020 and now 2024, their sports team is young, inexperienced. We're not going to make the playoffs this year. Let's get that experience and come back next year. In this case, 2028. Maybe we're still going to be young. Maybe we got to make a few trades and come back in 2032. But to be running right now saying we're going to beat Kamala Harris is asinine.
Yeah, but
And I'm telling you, my Republican neighbors down here in rural Florida agree with it.
I think the incentive structure is not there for that to happen, because right now it seems like most people would rather lose and be pure, because that's how you win a primary, than
Not most. Mitt Romney, Adam Kinzinger, and Liz Cheney.
So you got 3 people in the whole country.
That's my point. Those are the only 3 people that were willing to remain pure.
No. I'm not talking about pure. I'm talking about the pure.
That's what you just said.
No. I'm talking about the purity of base politics. Republicans now and Democrats are having the exact same problem, honestly. On the left and the right, to win a primary.
We don't have time to talk about the Democrats yet. I got to go get lunch.
Well, no, but let me the one last thing. Okay. What I'm saying is that the incentive structure right now is that you have to run further to the right or further to the left to win your primary. And they're not interested in moderating. They'd rather lose the general election and keep running in primaries. And like be able to say, like, it's like neither party wants to be a majority party. They don't want to build coalitions. There's no incentive structure for that, the way it works.
Fetterman didn't do that.
I mean,
as soon as Fetterman won, he started working on middle of the road things.
I don't really feel like
he knew he could get.
Yeah, the Senate is different.
That's why he's getting crap right now in Pennsylvania.
He's not
honoring
very popular.
The far left things.
But he's right. He's going to get some crap from his base, but that's my point. Most people are not willing to get crap from their base now. And the base of the Republican Party is Trumpy and populist, and the base of the left party is very, very progressive now. And so the problem is, the second they stray from that, the loudest people on those sides vilify them and say things like, we're not going to vote. Like the far left said they weren't going to vote for Joe Biden. They would rather let Trump win. It's a hostage situation is what it is.
They say that. They said the same thing about the never Trumpers.
The Trump voters are doing it, though, is my point. When Trump tells them to not vote, they don't vote. And my point is, I don't think that's going to go away just because Trump's not there. I think someone else will come in and do it. They're not going to be able to do it exactly like him, because no one's like Trump. A lot of people have tried to imitate him. It hasn't worked. But I don't think that this just fizzles out and you have Nikki Haley as the Republican nominee in 2028. I don't see any future for reasonable people like her. Or
100%.
I don't even think Ron DeSantis has. I don't really think he can even be it, because he's
Ron
not
DeSantis
pure enough.
Is Donald Trump disorganized? At least Trump has some organization mentally, or at least he used to, or at least he bullshitted his way enough to make people think he does. DeSantis is, I promise you, there's diehard DeSantis people down here that want him out.
Well, I mean, he won his re-election by 19 points, so I don't believe that he swung that bad in the last 1 year.
Not then, but now.
It's 1 year later, Yergs. It's not, or is
it's
it
people who have lost their homes to a hurricane and now finally got it built back up. For when? August of the next year, when we're getting more hurricanes. And he never fixed the homeowners insurance issue that the state has, like he said he would. Instead, he's banning books and losing pissing matches to a mouse.
Yeah, I mean, he's still more popular than not. He's got a 52% approval rating. That's not the 19 points that he had.
That's losable.
My point is, people like Donald Trump had like a 37% approval rating and stuff, and Biden has like miserable. That's pretty good. If you're above water, you're pretty good. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. I don't.
The thing about DeSantis's 52% approval rating, I'm guessing you found that among Floridians.
Well, of course, that's who matters. He's their governor.
Let's go to a state that has a clue.
That's who matters in a governor. I don't care. I don't give a hoot what.
No, but you're saying he's going to become a presidential candidate?
No, I'm saying.
DeSantis?
No, I'm saying I do not think the future holds anything for people that try to like do policy and stuff. I think that we've got all feelings.
No, we've been saying all day about how that's what we want to see happen.
No, because people say that
we're the only 3 people in the country that want to see policy.
I don't think there are people, unfortunately, that want to see policy changes. I think that
no, 100% wrong.
Show me.
100% wrong. They're my neighbors.
Show me the data. We've got a no policy substance presidential race going on.
I just told you the data sucks.
No, but I'm saying,
all you do is pull this poll and that poll and that poll that's written by partisan people.
why do you think both presidential campaigns are not doing any substance of policy right now? It's because they think it will win them the election. That proves that people don't care about
And
politics.
she is.
She's not.
She does at the teleprompter.
Barely. Her
Yes.
no, most
That's
of
what
her,
she needs.
no, most of her policies have come
When the
from
other
her
guy's
campaign.
tweeting about wanting Biden back, and his buddies talking about women with cats.
I agree. It's
What
all
do you need to talk about?
It's all stupid. That's my point is voters do not care. They think that they are better off talking about stuff like that than they are talking about policies, or they wouldn't be doing it.
But the other thing, what was the biggest aside of he's too old, he's on cough medicine, whatever else, what was the biggest fault of Joe Biden in that debate? And in many of his
everything was
moments,
absolutely atrocious. I can't pick what was the biggest fault. It was terrible.
He tried too much to get too far into the weeds with the numbers. People, you said,
right. That's my point.
People didn't care about.
People don't care about it.
Okay, so now Kamala's not caring about that. She's just giving basic information.
I know that's my problem.
And now she's still the bad guy?
But that's my point is that people don't care about it. You're making my point. I said that people don't care about policy right now. If they did, they would demand.
No, I'm saying they do care about policy, but all they care about is the general. It's a hierarchy. Down here in the bottom are us career government employees. We got into the details as the people on the ground.
But what's the explanation?
Above that we're going to go all the way up to the pyramid, and you're not going to say anything. Above that is my boss, who's a little less detailed until it's time to read my report and just be a double check. Above that is his boss or her boss, who's just about stats. Did Yerger arrest anybody? Did Yerger do a site and not get anybody killed or shot at? And above that is directors and Congress and the president who say, is the Secret Service awesome? Yeah, okay. And above that are the people that put them there, the voters. Does the Secret Service do their job, yes or no? No? Okay. President, fix it. Okay. Director, fix it. Okay. Special agent in charge of the office, fix it. Comes back down to me. Hey, Yergs, you have been screwing up. We're going to have you do the next site. Because none of people said so.
No, that's not Congress. That's not law. That's not.
It's policy.
No, that's just
policy.
Executive branch.
We're doing things better because the people said to. The people don't need to know how many sites I've done leading up to me being the next site agent. The people don't know how many sites I've failed at or how many cases I didn't have arrests in. They just know that I have federal arrests and they want more because their grandmother is losing her identity to some guy across the ocean.
But what does this have to do with the president being able to tell me a basic economic policy? We don't know.
The president doesn't have to be the one on that ground level getting all mixed up in the details.
But they're promising
that's
to
what
be
Biden did, and that's where he was wrong.
I just think
Kamala's not doing that. She knows she's further up the chain. Her statements are much more basic, something that's going to be much more appealing to further up the chain, the voters.
Even though they're the same as Trump's policies. She's moderated to all of Trump's policies. So they have the same policy.
She's intelligent.
But so you're proving my point.
Trump isn't wanting to ban assault weapons.
She's not either now.
Because she knows she can't.
No, it's not because she knows she can't. It's because she knows she has to moderate to it. My point is that if she has the same policy position,
mathematically, you'll never see that assault weapons ban.
I know
that you did in the Clinton administration.
I know
because I said it. 20% of Democrats carry a gun.
Right, but my point is that she's moderating to Trump's policy. She even stole his no tax for tips. She said she doesn't want to ban fracking. She doesn't want to ban guns. She doesn't want to confiscate guns. She doesn't want Medicare for all. She does it. All the policies she used to have, she's moderated to where Trump is on the policy now. And yet she's moved up in the polls. To me, that proves that it has nothing to do with the policy and everything to do with she's not Donald Trump or Joe Biden. And that
Yeah,
proves my point
but
that people don't care about
but
policy.
isn't the fact that she's moved up in those polls because she's made adjustments? You say that she's stolen it from Trump. Maybe she did a study too and said, you know what? I'm not going to ban assault weapons.
My point is
As
normally,
much as I'd love to see it,
yeah,
as much as stats from when they were banned,
right, but she's not
showing
saying
that
any of this.
shootings were down.
It's just her campaign saying this, by the way. She's not saying any of these things. Her campaign is saying she doesn't feel that way anymore. It's not even her.
That's what a president and candidate does.
I know, but my point is there's
Like,
we used to
Go
have
talk to
debates.
those press people for me. I want to go talk to another donor. I got to go talk to George Clooney. You go handle the press. Tell him I'll be out in a minute.
We used to have a debate about ideas between the parties and between candidates that say, I think this is how we solve it. And the other candidate would say, no, this is how we solve it. And we would go, I think that person has better ideas. We do not care about that anymore. It's entirely about feelings about that person. Can we have a beer with that person? Do we like that person? It has nothing to do with policy because there's not really policy differences right now between them for the most part. I mean, obviously there are some, but like right now, because we haven't heard from her. And that's my point is she's gotten a bump in the polls. I know you don't believe polls, but I mean, I think it's real. I think she's on track to win the election. Donald Trump is on track to lose it. It's not because of a policy. It's because she's not Donald Trump or Joe Biden, who people didn't like. She could be any other Democrat right now. And the exact
that's exactly why, one reason why she didn't pick a Jew as a running mate.
Which because she didn't want to have the fight with the anti-Semitic crowd in the left, which I think is capitulating to a gross anti-Semitic part of her party. Now, I mean, I also think Tim Walz might.
You don't think that it's a real issue when she's also trying to win over anti-Semitic and racist Republicans?
It's not a real. Don't turn this into a Republican anti-Semitism thing. She's scared of
it. Is they're my neighbors.
She's. Yergs, you cannot look at what happened since October 7th and say that the right has the anti-Semitic problem. I'm not saying they don't have an anti-Semitic problem.
They have an anti-Palestinian problem. Trump's so far up Netanyahu's ass.
There's an anti-Semitic problem in the left. You've got to admit it. And she's scared to have any kind of waves in her. And that's my point is
there's an anti-Semitic problem in society.
Of course, but there's a bigger problem on the left right now than the right. And if you can't admit that, you are not paying attention.
I don't think that's what's important.
How is it not important?
She's already the nominee.
There are people
she's already the nominee.
There are people restricting Jews from coming to the party.
Vote for Donald Trump?
She could take the right stand. She could do the right thing and say, there is no room for anti-Semitism in our party. I don't care if it loses me your vote. That's the right thing to do. That would have been the right thing for anyone to do on any candidate. And the fact that they're both spineless and won't do it.
She said when those pro-Palestinian people got up.
All she said is, if you want Trump to win, then shut up. But she, in private, told them.
Well, what do you think that means?
She should never meet with them. She should get on stage. I'm curious to see what will happen next week.
She should absolutely meet with them. One of the most impressive things I think he did.
You don't meet with people that are anti-Semitic. You don't do it.
One of the most impressive things I think he did was when Nixon was having riots and demonstrations outside the White House. He actually snuck out of the White House and went and sat at the fence and had conversations with protesters.
Protesters are different than protesters.
That's who you need to talk to.
No, you don't talk to
people that disagree.
Not to racist people. We should all agree that that's not okay. I'm not like...
That's not okay.
Well, she is.
But Trump's a racist.
I don't care. Like Trump it got the same problem. I just said both of them are spineless. I said neither one of them will call out the racist parts of their base. Trump thought he had to, and Kamala Harris thinks she has to too. That's what my problem is they're so worried about anyone being vocal against them that they're willing to capitulate to anything. They will be anything to anyone at any time. And that's what bothers me. There is no principle. No. There is no ideals. If the truth is,
I think the Republican Party will be anything they want to Trump. That's why the Republican Party is in this mess.
But the Democrats are doing the same. They're having the same problem with the anti-Semitic part of the base. It's true. The truth is, like, she's going to have to. So will they?
You're not going to have total unity.
I'm not asking for
Mr. Rogers' neighborhood.
That's what they want. That's what they're trying to do. That's what the Democrats want, and that's what the Republicans want.
They want unity on a big picture.
No, they want
we're up here thing.
That's why she didn't pick. That's probably why she didn't pick Shapiro. Now we don't know for sure. I think Tim Walz might be a fine pick, but like
The other thing, I saw a bunch of articles saying he wanted to be co-president.
I don't care what the article says. I know for a fact he's a popular governor in a state that she has to win.
Yeah.
So he has, and he has almost the same policies as Walz. So she went with the guy that's not a Jew, and like she, maybe it's just because she liked Walz better. That's fine. I don't care what the explanation is. But if she doesn't come out and full-throatedly say that, like, look, the anti-Semitism in our party is wrong. There is no room for pro-Hamas stuff. There's no room for pro-terrorist stuff. You can be pro-Palestinian. You can be anti-Israel decisions. Those are all fine.
I think she definitely gave it, if nothing else, she without question gave that appearance.
I disagree. It's not enough for me. I want to see full-throated call-outs of the anti-Semitism.
You want her to put on an army helmet and go to the front lines?
No, I want her to say there's no room for anti-Jewish sentiment in our party at all. And if you are anti-Semitic, get out. If you have problems with Israel's government and the way they function, that's totally fine. No problem with that. I do too. But you can't be anti-Jew. And that's what most of these protests on campus have turned into. The Fifth Circuit, I think, just ruled that UCLA was
I've got to go eat. But that's exactly what she did. She's not going to. It's too early.
Trump's going to get elected.
She's not going to be, slam the door and say it's my way or the highway. But she opened the door by saying, "If you want to vote for Trump, say it. Otherwise, STF."
Yeah, but I mean, that's not the same. Telling someone to shut up at a rally that's protesting you is different than telling someone that, like,
that's why you and I aren't going to be president.
Well, of course, yeah,
because we're right there and we wear our heart on our sleeve. And she was much more tactful.
So look, here's the difference. John McCain, when presented with someone that said, well, he's a secret Muslim, he took the microphone.
That was an incident. I know what you're talking about, and I love that moment.
He took the microphone. He said, "Absolutely not. You are not going to You're not going. He's a good man." And that
was a specific person, not a movement.
Okay, well, you can say it to the movement too. Past presidents have done it. Past governors have done it. They've stood up to the mobs. The mobs, if they're racist, should be called out. There should be no room.
Not with the media coverage that's happening.
Why not? What's the harm? What's the harm if she says there's no room?
They're going to spin it. What's the media who's constantly fighting with all those polls? I said,
how are you going to spin that?
Keep themselves relevant. They're going to spin it.
Let me put it this way.
You did that perfectly.
I know everyone likes to call Republicans racist, but did you hear anyone saying that, I don't know if Tim Scott...
I'm not calling Republicans racist. I'm calling Donald Trump, who's not a Republican.
But people do. Here's my point. My point is that when Tim Scott was being floated as a potential VP, he was one of the 6 people in that running. I never heard one person on TV going, him being black could be a mark against him to get votes out. But I did hear people on TV, anchors on CNN, say it out loud that would be a net detractor for Josh Shapiro being the VP pick. You have a racism problem if you're saying that out loud on television, that a Jewish guy...
It's reality. I don't have a problem with Josh Shapiro.
You got to call that out.
Our country does.
You can't call that out as just an electoral thing and not call out that racism in your party. I have a huge problem with that. I think it's a festering
It's not
problem.
just in the party. In this case, Kamala Harris is already the nominee. Whether she was voted in yet or not, you're not picking anybody else now.
Right. My point is,
she's making that decision because they are going to be the entire ticket.
And I
missed 2 alarms.
Okay, let's go.
Since the show should have ended.
All right.
God damn, it's only 2:02. All right, I gotta go.
Adios.
All right, man. I'll see you in a week.
See ya.
We'll definitely pick this up then.
All right,
everybody. You've been up the middle. This is Mastiff Media Network. I'll see you on Monday. Oh, turn the volume back up. There it is. See you Monday, everybody. Great show.